Hi, and welcome to this week's Three Legs, Four Wheels F1 podcast. It's Paul here with
Dan.
Meow. Meow.
Sorry, carry on.
Chris.
Meow.
Meow to you too.
I was doing an impression of the bloke. Say it.
No.
All right. I was doing an impression of the guy that got hold of the microphone during the race.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a bit odd, wasn't it?
It was kind of awesome.
It was odd. It was odder than...
It was better than last year's Eagle.
Well, the Shadow Eagle did scare the shit out of me, I gotta be honest. I didn't know what was going on with that when that appeared on the track at Turn 1 last year. What the f*** is that?
I'd have grabbed the microphone and whispered into it, "Hi, I'm Lewis C.K.," and then started making funny noises.
Just, his career's dead already. Doesn't need more
No, he'll be
deadening.
back. He'll be back easy.
But
Easy.
you said, Chris, you said before we started recording, you could tell it wasn't someone British that grabbed hold of it because they weren't swearing.
Exactly, yeah.
Wait, let's.
Yeah, it would have been profanities if someone British had gotten hold of it. But then, no, there wasn't anything like that. So,
Sorry,
yeah.
it wasn't me.
No, it wasn't you.
No, I was definitely busy. I was watching the race.
No, they sounded like a carpool.
That's what you think a car sounds like. I'd get your van checked out.
Doesn't sound like an angry cat wasp. Moving swiftly on.
Yeah, well, good race though, wasn't it?
I think it was I think probably the best race of the second half of the season.
I think it was the best race of the season.
I still don't think it beats China.
I think it might be the best race since Australia 2013.
It was for one man in particular.
I think it was for one country in particular.
Maybe.
But yeah, he's finally done it. What is it? 113 races, 2,044 days.
Something like that.
Sean Kelly's stat is fucking amazing.
What was
that
it
his like loss gap or like his drought was longer than 92% of Formula One drivers' careers.
And that's what, like 740 some.
Of course, breaking the record of Patrese, was it 99 race record?
Yeah.
Between Kyle Army 82 and 1990. 99 races between wins, and then Raikkonen does 113 races. Also, 11 years to the day since he won the championship off of Hamilton and Alonso.
Yes.
Imagine if Raikkonen won the rest of the races this year and Ferrari gone, oh fuck lads. What?
What have we done?
Charles Leclerc finishes last in all of the races with no shenanigans.
Yeah, we've got Spinny McSpinnerson in one of our cars.
Kimi Raikkonen's found the accelerator.
The other one was it's not the longest gap between wins for a team because Gerhard Berger's got that record. 11 years between wins at Benetton.
Oh, right.
Between Mexico 86 and Germany 97. There was kind of stints at other teams.
How
in
many
there,
races is that? That must be close to 99.
But he won other races in between.
Oh, I
Yeah,
see.
for
For
different
the same
teams.
team. Oh, right. Okay. Yeah.
That's ace.
Because he did win for Ferrari in the interim and possibly McLaren as well.
Yeah, he did win for McLaren. Yeah.
Kimmy won for Lotus, didn't he?
Yes.
But that was Kimi's last.
2013,
that was- yeah.
But the
But, yeah, Kimi hasn't won for Ferrari since September
He
2000.
won a couple of
right.
races that year, didn't he? Even win a couple, 2 or 3.
the year before, 2012. Yeah, 2012 was I Know What I'm Doing, wasn't it? Abu Dhabi.
Yeah.
But the don't forget, I think the longest gap between team wins is still Mercedes. I think their last win was like 1956, and then they won again in 2014.
I would
However,
suggest
I
that's
think-
never getting beaten.
I think not being in the sport for about 50 of those years helps with that gap.
I think
Yeah,
so.
it's almost cheating if you want
Yes.
that stat.
So basically, we're just waiting for Vauxhall to come back into Formula One, who got a win in the early 50s.
No, nobody wants that.
I'd have it.
Anyway, should we go through the race?
It might happen in Australia, but they're not holding on for it.
Oh, good lord. Did you, just quickly before we go into the race, did anyone catch Martin Brundle's little interview with Kimi? Just outside the pit? Outside the pit, the
Post race.
thing. Yeah, after he's won. And he said, oh, congratulations on the win, all that sort of stuff. I suppose there's a nice win bonus for you that we'll see as well at the bar tonight. Which Kimi taps him on the shoulder. Said, I don't think that's going to matter whether I have a bonus or not, is it, Martin?
Yeah, Sean, I hope I get this right. Kachevsky sent a tweet saying, "What's the over/under on Kimi drinking Texas Dry by the end of the night?" Now, this was 2 hours after the race, and the only reply I could have was, "I think it's already happened." There will have been one hell of a party.
Yeah, I did say to regular listener Mike McPherson, who was sending us pictures and info from the circuit. I tweeted, nobody's really upset, are they, that Kimi won? And he responded with, no, apparently not. Well, no, the party tonight will be huge.
Do you know what? I bet it wasn't.
No,
Because it's a back-to-back, innit?
No, but the parties ran the circuit. I think.
Oh,
been,
yeah,
I think
yeah,
The
but
fans will have been well into Kimi winning a race.
The team party is probably a bit subdued because
see-
they're
Because
off to
Vettel,
Mexico.
yeah, and
Well,
Vettel.
no, not because of Vettel, but because next week's race.
Are you
Yeah,
saying
well-
that the Ferrari's party is on ice? Man,
And you have a go at me.
I stole that out of your head.
Yeah, okay, you did. Go on. Right, we'll start from the back as
And work-
always.
Work forward to Kimi again.
Yes, technically Haas, 1 DNF and 1 DQ.
Yeah, Magnussen crossed the line. Was it 10th? I think he was. You got a point, but he's been disqualified from the race for using too much fuel.
How much was too much?
Did we work out before? 100 grams,
too much.
which is roughly a cup full of fuel. But limits is limits.
Yeah, you're allowed 105 kilos of fuel during the race. He used 105.1.
Everyone else went under it, sort
Stupid
of.
question. Do we know that Formula One petrol fuel is the same weight as normal petrol fuel?
I would imagine.
Higher octane.
Well, it's
Well, a kilogram of Formula One fuel is the same as a kilogram of.
lead.
No, but the volume. No, yeah, the weight.
You're
would be
thinking,
the
you're
same.
thinking weight per volume.
I'm thinking weight for volume. Yeah.
I would imagine it's not.
Yeah, but
That's right.
but the measure it by weight.
Yeah,
So he used 100 grams more than he was allowed to do.
Yeah. No, that's what I was meaning about. I was thinking it's a shot glass.
Yeah.
You know, it might be a cup.
I get you. We'll just use a shot glass because that's easier. Well, 3 shot glasses
Yeah.
because that's how much it was. And Grosjean in the wars again. Got a penalty point and a 3-place grid drop for Mexico after ramming Charles Leclerc.
So is he only 1 penalty point away now?
2 puts him on to 10, and 1 point comes off after Mexico.
And that 3-place grid penalty sticks him slap bang in the danger zone.
Well, of course it does. He's Roman Grosjean.
Yeah, we said this last time he got a grid penalty. You know, he's crashy, so why not move him around slower cars that he's going to have to drive through?
Yeah.
I reckon.
I think, to be fair, the danger zone moves with him.
Yeah. I wonder if Haas have got Antonio Giovinazzi on speed dial just in case. Are we going to see Grosjean get a ban before the end of the season?
I don't know. And if they do, I don't know they'll get Giovinazzi now that he signed up for Sauber for next year. Sauber might go, no, I don't think so.
Yeah, but at the moment he's still a Ferrari driver, isn't he? So, but who else is available? Because Haas's third driver, Santino Ferrucci, and he hasn't got a super license.
Oops.
So I don't think he's even got a Friday testing license. So we couldn't even stick him in the
They
car.
find
Seems
someone.
kind of counterproductive to have a reserve driver who can't drive.
It does. Is anyone else been in that car? Because that's the other thing to think, isn't it? Have they got anyone that's tested or anything?
I think they've only had Ferrucci testing because don't forget the last test they didn't put a car out because it was after Silverstone.
Is Ferrucci actually banned from competition?
No, it was only banned from F2 and that ban's finished now.
All right, so he could be called up then.
Well, he could, but he hasn't got the points for a super license.
Oh, right.
He doesn't actually qualify for one.
See that seems ridiculous, doesn't it? That you're a reserve driver. That's crazy.
Your standing driver can't stand in.
Yeah.
So Paul di Resta again then.
No, I think you'd be.
No, has to just run one car.
I think Haas has just run one car.
I don't think they're allowed. I think
With special dispensation, you are.
Yeah, I think the rules state that they have to run 2, and I think the FIA will come down hard on them if they only run 1.
No, they've
Because
let
one of the drivers
Russia
has been
only
banned.
ran one car after
Yeah.
Jules Bianchi's accident.
Yeah, but there's a bit of a difference between a driver that's died and a driver that's
No,
shit.
but if you've took their driver away by giving them a ban, you can't then ban the team because they they haven't got the driver to go. I think they'd get special dispensation for that, and they'd be allowed to run one car.
I think they'd want to. I'll try that again. I think they'd want to put 2 cars in because don't forget they're still trying to get 4th.
I don't think you could, though. I don't think you could if you haven't had a driver in like at least a sim. You can't just throw somebody in a Formula One car.
Which is why I'm thinking it would be somebody who has driven a Formula One car recently.
Yeah,
like
but not a
Giovinazzi
Haas, though. So, the steering wheel would be alien, all the systems would be alien.
What's Danny Kvyat up to for the rest of the season?
Not a great deal, and he has driven last year's Ferrari.
Yeah, it's
In the
still,
sim.
it's still not a Haas, though. The
No, there's the Haas, it's a Ferrari.
Yeah, well, I think we put all that to bed now, haven't we? But yeah,
Not when there's comedy in there, no.
I just think that they just wouldn't run a car. I think you're right.
Yeah, I think it'd just be 1 car down. They'd slap Grosjean silly.
Yeah,
I think they demand dispensation either for running 1 car or for Ferrucci to get a license.
Don't forget as well, isn't there an appeal against Grosjean's disqualification after Mexico, is it? From the Italian Grand Prix.
Yeah, but that was only for a technical infringement, which he didn't get any penalty points for.
Yeah, but what if the FIA do that thing where they come down super heavy on people for trying to appeal something they've already decided and be like, no, why did you appeal this? This was ridiculous. I'd much rather be at home with my wife than listen to this stupid hearing in court. Penalty points for the driver.
yeah.
It's one of those complicated things where nobody understands what the hell the FIA is likely to do. I think the FIA are lawn to themselves.
By one of those
well, of
things,
course
you
they
mean
are.
a decision?
Yeah.
But during the race, Magnussen did okay, but got disqualified because he used too much fuel. Grosjean was awful off the start, and Haas had the worst home race they could possibly
What?
wish for.
Once again, Roman Grosjean proving that Lee is right 99% of the times because he was really good in qualifying. So Roman Grosjean goes fast and then he crashes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's always been his thing.
I think he would have been out of the team had Giovinazzi not taken the Sauber drive because they announced their 2 drivers after Giovinazzi was announced at Sauber. So I
But
think they
even
were.
so, I can't understand how there isn't a better option than. I see. Sorry, I shouldn't say that because I do actually quite like Grosjean. I do think there's a decent Formula One driver in him, but there's probably a decent Formula One driver in him if he had like the best sports psychologist in the world.
I think maybe he's had one at some point of this year and he needs to go see him again.
Jackie Stewart, wasn't it? Jackie Stewart did sort of took him in to do it, but that didn't seem to fix anything. I think
when he was at Lotus.
I think Johnny Herbert's had a go as well. Because Johnny Herbert does a bit of driver coach on the quiet. I think he's involved with Bottas as well. I think, but
No wonder Bottas is horrifically depressed.
yeah,
Got Johnny Herbert telling you how to drive.
Chirpy Cockneys always depress people.
tell him about his horrific accident in a really chirpy way.
Just watch Sky coverage. It's on at least 5 times a weekend. Moving on slowly. Williams were the worst team to finish, 13th and 14th. And
Yeah, Sorokin 2 laps down. Sorry, Stroll 2 laps down. Sorokin just 1 place ahead.
yeah,
I think
Almost
Stroll
2 laps
did have
down.
to pit early on and then got a penalty as well.
Yeah.
Stroll got a penalty for the collision with Alonso, which we will get to later because of things Alonso said about it. And
It's slightly unfair because Stroll did get tapped from behind as he was setting himself up for one of the turns. He got tapped from behind.
Alonso has since come out and said, "Oh, actually, I've now seen the replay."
Yeah. He got
Before
tapped from behind by what looks like Brendan Hartley tapped Stroll from behind. So Stroll had to straighten up instead of going round the corner. And then accidents happened.
Yeah, but didn't Alonso have somebody on the outside of him as well? So there was nowhere he could
There
go.
was nowhere for anyone to go. It was harsh for Stroll to get the penalty, I thought.
I thought it was too.
I think if it wasn't Stroll, he wouldn't have got a penalty. In the same way as I think if we'll talk about it in a bit, but there was other penalties happened
Blame Canada.
that people didn't get penalties for, and I think they probably would have done if it was somebody else.
Yeah.
But again, just Williams.
Not their weekend.
Williams,
not their weekend. Part 15.
yeah, Williams
Not that
slower
season.
than slower than they were in Circuit of the Americas in 2017, which is, a lot of people think is lending itself to the fact that they stopped developing the car at mid-season and literally just running it to see what it does, because they've already started 2019 a heavy development in 2019.
Were there any other teams slower than they were last year?
It's funny you should ask, Dan,
Just before
because
you
there is
go
one
on-
more.
Before you go on, I've got a quick thing about Williams that you
Oh.
might not know.
That's the seam in a seamless link.
Sorry. Do you
He's just put
know?
a zip in it, hasn't
Do
he?
you know who the guest of Williams were this week?
Yes.
Rich
Yes,
Energy.
Rich Energy.
Yes.
Yeah, well, with Martini disappearing, aren't they, at the end of the year? Well, not disappearing, but disappearing off the Williams car.
Did you hear what Ted Kravitz said about it?
Well, I saw his photo that he took of Rich Energy man walking alongside Claire Williams. Went, bit obvious, Claire. You
Yeah.
know?
No. He mentioned it in his notebook, and he was saying that they were sort of flaunting Rich Energy around over the course of the weekend. He said, and if you go trying to work out where the money's coming from to sponsor a Formula One team, so are all of us.
Yeah, well, yeah, we had this discussion about Rich Energy once before, haven't we?
Yeah, when
When they
were
were about to buy Force India
Yeah.
Yeah, having not sold a
With-
single can of drink.
with their £8.
No, they have sold two cans of drink.
One to Rob Lee.
No, I've bought two, and the only reason that I bought two is I bought the first one,
And it wasn't
got
good enough.
and it got knocked over, so I had to buy a second just to see what it was like. And it tastes like every other generic energy drink on the market.
So not special then.
Yeah, so we won't be getting in touch with them for sponsorship after that.
Well, they can get in touch with us for sponsorship if they want, but
We need to see the colour of the money first, which is what most teams want to do, and that seems to be something that they're not able to provide massively.
yeah. Rich Energy Williams F1 team, possibly black and gold next year, might be a bit weird.
Black and gold cars would look good, though.
Yeah, black and gold cars do look good, but black and gold Lotuses, not black and gold Williamses. Williamses are always white and blue, and apart from that one season when they were red.
I tell you what, it sounds like a stupid thing as well, but it would have to be a lot of money that goes into it, because you think of sort of like a whole brand refresh like that. That's everything.
Yeah.
That's even like stuff that's in the garages. That's trucks.
Well, that's if they're being a title sponsor, of course.
Yeah. I mean, it could just be that Williams do a McLaren run without a title sponsor, and
Just have a Rich Energy sticker somewhere on
yeah,
them.
Yeah.
and they just keep with the blue lines that they use when they're not allowed to advertise Martini, say in France and Russia.
Well, no,
They take the red lines out and just run the blue stripes on the white.
Yeah.
no, they have all the Martini teamwear is now less than half price on the Formula One store. And they have, I think we mentioned it a few weeks ago, the Williams Racing merchandise is creeping in, which is no Martini anything on
No.
it anywhere. It's all very pale blue, dark blue.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Unless Claire Williams pulls an absolute masterstroke and gets Cinzano in, which are Martini's main competitors, as next year's sponsor.
That would be more of a motorcycling thing, wouldn't it? Cinzano sponsor motorcycling events quite often.
You're allowed to do both. Look at
Well,
Red
yeah,
Bull.
I know you are. Yeah, but yeah, it would be a bit odd.
Let's just cross our fingers for Williams.
It's a classic livery as well, isn't it, Martini? I wouldn't be surprised if Martini ended up on the Sauber next year, just to confuse everyone, because they have quite a strong tie-in with Alfa Romeo. So
But of course, the other Williams news that's come out this week is it now looks like Ocon is back on the shortlist.
I think he definitely will be after fucking Bottas's performance this weekend.
Yeah, what you were saying earlier.
I can't imagine why Mercedes wouldn't want options. Like, he was fucking hopeless. What a waste of a car that man was this weekend.
Yeah, I'm not going to
Yeah.
argue with that. We'll talk about that later when we get to Mercedes.
but
But
George Russell says he wants Esteban Ocon as his teammate because of obviously they're both being Mercedes young drivers, give them equal opportunity, and he says let the best man win.
yeah, and it looks like the other two on the shortlist are Kubica and Sorokin, and Markelov is completely out of the picture for next year now.
See, I never really believed Markelov was going to make it into Formula One.
He had got the money behind him until very recently.
Yeah, but maybe. But there seems to be less drivers coming through now, thankfully, just on money basis. You know, because because you've got teams like Sauber, which you've got the Ferrari tie-in, and Williams seem to have something going with Mercedes. You'd have thought with George Russell being taken on, that hopefully the need for that money from independent people is a little bit less, because Markelov has spectacular races, but he has spectacular races because he can't qualify. And if he was as good as he looks on his day, he'd have been a contender for the championship, and he wasn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you're saying the ones with the money aren't coming through as much now, but look at Toro Rosso this weekend, putting Galale in the car on Friday and having a massive KFC logo on the side all weekend. God knows how much Sean Galale's dad paid for that, but I'm guessing
There's only
it wasn't
one
cheap.
race.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like a...
Oh, he's tested for him before, and I'm pretty sure that's not the only time we've seen the KFC branding on there.
Yeah, but it's not like he's in the
courtesy of him.
it's not like he's in the talk for a Toro Rosso seat.
No, it's just very strange to me. I don't know if he's on the young driver program or not these days.
I mean, Toro Rosso is the team though to give drivers a test. You know, so if there was any team I could see throwing somebody in a car, I don't believe it's just for sponsorship.
Is there still a seat available at Toro Rosso for next year?
Kind of.
Yes, it's
Kvyat's in one of them.
second seat hasn't been confirmed yet.
Right.
There's been talks
We'll
about
come
that.
to
We
that
will
later.
we will get to that later. So talking of other teams that were slower this year than last year, Dan.
So, McLaren.
Yay!
Yay!
Also, another team that's probably stopped developing their car since Spa. Just wanting to pick up points where they can. No points in Austin though. Although with the 2 disqualifications, Stoffel Van Dorn finished 11th. Alonso, on the other hand, as we've already discussed, didn't finish at all.
There was a chunk taken out of his car and he stopped.
It's annoying that he has to do, spend a weekend in America to do 600 meters and get punted out of the race by amateurs. Sorry, I am actually directly quoting Fernando Alonso.
Apart from it was 9 days.
9 days was it in the USA?
Yeah. Let me just find the full quote.
It was a hell of a rant, which he has since kind of retracted a little bit.
Yeah. I'm here for 9 days in the US to do a race, and I do 600 meters of the race, and they push you off. Basically saying there are more amateurs in Formula One than in WEC, where some of the drivers are actual amateurs, and I think he mentioned old men at some point.
Did he not
Yeah,
say
he did.
that there's a different level of intelligence in WEC than there is in Formula One? And in Formula One, they play with you like bowling.
Yes.
Yeah. Also, here we need bumpers like rental go-karts so we can all crash into each other. He was pissed.
Yeah.
He
not
was
happy.
pissed.
And then he followed that up with a tweet saying, just watch the coverage of the crash and no one could have done anything different.
At least he was good enough to tweet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Lance Stroll was the one who took a massive chunk out of Alonso's bodywork,
Yeah.
wasn't he? And it affected Stroll's race. Probably wouldn't have done a lot better than he did finish, 14th out of the 14 finishes.
No.
But
Where was Sorokin?
13th.
Wow.
And
He was in 10th for a while, wasn't he?
I've no
Yeah,
idea.
but-
Maybe pit stop shenanigans.
Yeah, Sorokin was the last one to pit.
Yeah. And Alonso's bodywork missing. It's not the first time this year we've seen a McLaren with huge chunks of bodywork missing out of it.
No.
Yeah, and with Stroll having to straighten up because he was just slightly tapped by Hartley behind. So having to straighten up so he didn't go into a spin. And then
he was off the circuit and rejoining at the corner.
and Alonso,
And Alonso
didn't
was
have
heading for
any
the apex.
Yeah, but neither of them had any room, nowhere to go really, unless Stroll stayed off the circuit, and then would have got a penalty for being off the circuit. We got a penalty for the
would
collision.
have been better, really.
No, yeah, but he got a penalty for the collision anyway, which was harsh. But yeah, Alonso. Should we put that statement up in full on the website if it's not already?
Yeah, I think it's there as there's a press release out, but I'll put that up on the web. And
Yeah.
for anyone that hasn't seen it, it's just play the sad music in the background behind it.
Do you remember our Sad Fernando series? It's kind of like that, but angry Fernando.
So play the sad music just louder and faster.
I was thinking, Welcome to the Jungle instrumental version.
Yeah, that would probably do it. Right, what do we got? What do we got next? Sauber. Charles Leclerc, we've already sort of discussed because he had to retire after being belted by Grosjean.
Yeah, it was. I didn't know who Leclerc came together with at first, but on lap 1, just before the big incident, which we'll get to later, between two of the front runners, just before that incident, Leclerc and Grosjean tapped in at the end of the main straight, and it spun Leclerc right round. He lost an awful lot of bodywork and floor as well. And I think he maybe did one more lap or like half a lap and then just pitted, and then that was it. So
I think
they told him to drive into the garage.
one of the
didn't they?
Renaults was almost taken out in that as well. I didn't see if it was Sainz or Hulkenberg, but I saw Grosjean and
It was Sainz
a
because
Renault and
Sainz got a
another car.
penalty for leaving the circuit and gaining an advantage.
Yes, that penalty that really shouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
But points again for Marcus Ericsson. It's been a good weekend for drivers that are leaving teams,
Yeah.
except for Alonso.
Ericsson to Williams, anyone? Has anybody thought about this?
He's not even been mentioned.
He's already been signed up though, hasn't he?
I mean, Sauber have got him as reserve driver next year. But I'm
Oh, is
sure,
he reserve driver
Yeah,
for Sauber?
Yeah, but I'm sure it's a get-outable contract if he gets offered a race seat because
Well, it's more than just that though, isn't it? Because it's like
Brand-
reserve driver
brand
and
ambassador.
role. So
Sauber have got a brand ambassador. Hang on.
I think Alfa Romeo have got a brand
Alfa
ambassador.
Romeo have got a brand ambassador, and his name is Marcus Ericsson.
I think it's probably time for Ericsson though as well. You forget how long he's been in the sport for.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I mean, he has been sort of pootling around at the back for long enough.
Yeah. Yeah. So bye bye.
So his career lasts as long as one of Max Chilton's laps.
Yeah.
But yeah, good, decent points finish. We're seeing more and more improvement from Sauber. Looking forward to next year's car.
It's gonna be interesting.
If as I said it yesterday during the race, if Sauber, because obviously we were the race winner, probably won't get too many opportunities to win too many races next year. But if Sauber improve as much next year as they have this year, podiums are a definite possibility.
Podiums when there's shenanigans.
Yeah, the sort of the
Maybe not.
the
Maybe
Force
without
India
shenanigans. Because I don't care what people say about Toro Rosso. I'm still convinced Honda is going to take Red Bull clean out next year.
Now we are moving on to Toro Rosso next. Dan, you had a theory on Sunday about Brendan Hartley, and I think it makes a lot of sense.
Oh,
Oh yeah.
This is a good theory.
go on. Does
There's
it involve
been-
the grassy knoll?
There's been over the year. Over the year, there's been people saying that Hartley probably won't last the season with Toro Rosso.
Yeah.
Noted.
And
France Toss being one of them at one point.
he seemed like an odd choice from the start.
Yeah.
And Toro Rosso have always been the development team for the main Red Bull team.
I think I know where you're going. Jensen
That-
Button.
That wasn't Brendan Hartley's role. Brendan Hartley was there to do the engine development.
Because he knows how to drive cars that you cannot push to their full potential.
Because of his experience in
Experience in the-
endurance racing.
He
Yeah.
was there to help get the Honda engine
Up to
into a race
speed.
winner.
Interesting. The only argument I would have there is that I do not believe that I don't believe that Brendan Hartley's like world endurance experience is equal to having Alonso and McLaren for X amount of years.
The difference is Toro Rosso weren't saying we're going to be race winners with this engine. There was no pressure on Honda. They could get it wrong. They could try things. There was no media attention on.
It's an interesting theory. It's an interesting theory. The only reason I think Honda are going to be dump again next year is that they've got the reliability now. Yeah, they are much more reliable.
Yeah.
But the issues being for Honda when they've tried to go looking for performance, and they're going to have to go and look for performance now, and I think things are going to start going pop again.
Yeah, much like Renault are finding that most of their failures occur inside the Red Bull.
Yeah.
There is the risk that
Yeah.
I also do you not find it weird though? It's inside the Red Bull and 99 times to Daniel Ricciardo after decided he was leaving the team.
Yeah, but then last season it was all Max Verstappen.
He'd have won that race if he hadn't have gone pop.
He would definitely have been in with a shout, yeah.
But yeah, it was all Verstappen last year because everyone thought he might actually just walk out after I can't remember which race it was, but the oh fucking not again
That was
Canada,
Belgium.
what was it? Oh,
that
was it
Belgium?
Belgium?
Because he was in front of the big orange stand where he actually broke down just on the Kemmel Straight.
Yes,
he had
it
to
was.
pull over.
But no, I think you've got a point with that one because the pressure was definitely off Honda this year, and
Yeah, if you need someone to say, if you want to say to a driver, can you drive this at 95% and no more than that? Brendan Hartley is probably the man who can do that because of his experience in endurance racing. Yeah, okay, cool. I'll drive it
The
to the
only
point
issue
where
I've
it's
got there-
almost at the top of its performance, but not quite.
The only issue I've got there is the fact that he hasn't got the experience in Formula One to do that.
Yes, but no one else that Toro Rosso would have brought in would have either, and they'd be bringing people from F2 or F3.
Possibly. I still think that the reason Brendan Hartley's there is because they simply didn't have anyone else to put in the car. The reason that they've now had to go and scuttle Formula E to get Albon back because they haven't got anyone to put in the car.
I mean, Albon definitely isn't confirmed as yet, but Nissan put out a statement today saying they've had 15 to 20 drivers applying for Albon's seat in Formula E.
Well, look at the way Hartley's been talking about Toro Rosso. He's not talking like a man that's going to be in the team next year. He knows, I think.
I don't think he'll be in the team next year, and I think that has been a given since he was signed.
Yeah. I think he's had the opportunity, hasn't he? Do you know what I mean? He's been given the opportunity, and if you don't convert that, then you're not going to hang around, especially in Toro Rosso. You know, it's a pressure cooker.
Well, there's no guarantees of being there from one race to the next,
No.
the way that they've
But
they played
I
it
think for
sometimes.
him this year there has been. They might not have told him your seat's safe, but I think he was the right man for developing the engine for a year.
I like that theory because it does make sense.
Yeah.
We'll just have to wait till next year to see what comes to play with a Honda and an Adrian Newey packaged car.
Well,
Force India next. Oh, sorry, we didn't mention Pierre Gasly.
Pierre Gasly, well, he had early shenanigans as well, didn't he? With incident, but he
Kind of got caught up. He
fought his way back a little bit.
Yeah, he was in a bad position. Obviously, with starting at the back because of the engine change.
Yeah.
And because of the wet running, he was meant to run the new front wing this weekend, but the only dry running they had was obviously FP3 on Saturday morning, and they didn't have time to because they wanted to run qualifying sims, so they didn't have time to actually see if this new aero package was working. So he was without it. So we're actually going to see new aero on the Toro Rossos in Mexico.
Okay, that'd be interesting.
Late in the season for aero stuff coming through, but
got to wonder whether it's development Red Bull stuff, don't you?
I'm going to say is that going to be something that we'll see based on next year's regulations on the Red Bull next year?
Which I did enjoy. Did anybody else spot the Ted Kravitz, Rob Smedley
I saw that.
explanation on the 2019 regulations? The interesting thing that I found was that the front wing design, there's nothing transferable from 2018 into 2019 when it comes to the front wing. The whole thing is completely different, but it's to minimize outwash in front of the front wheel, so that air doesn't go sideways; it goes up and over the car, and is used properly rather than creating this huge, weird wake that cars are producing at the moment. It was when Rob Smedley said it's up to everybody else up and down the grid how they interpret that.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing in the rules to say that you cannot create an outwash. It's just that the rules that they've made might make it difficult for them to. But it might come to preseason testing and everybody's got a wing that creates outwash.
That does the same thing.
It just makes it much more difficult to follow again.
This is the issue, isn't it? I still think the only way they're going to fix this properly is if it was a front wing all of a sudden became a standardised part.
Yeah, because I mean, you shared that Formula E video from testing where
Yeah.
cars are following, and that is standardised aero. The only slight changes you can make on it are just the degree of elevation.
That was crazy how close those cars were following each other around a corner like that.
Yeah,
But yeah, Formula One should be able to do that as well.
Look great. I'm if they can do that around street circuits and overtake each other, because those cars do look pretty wide, it could be a really good year for Formula E. If you can watch it in glorious 13p on Spike TV.
13.
If the wind's in the right direction, otherwise it's 9.
I want the red pixel to win.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the tweet, but Jerome D'Ambrosio had a few things to say about F1 regulations for next season. To which I think most of the responses were, "Oh God, he's trying to turn it into NASCAR." Standardised aero, standardised engines,
No.
all cars to be within 5% of performance ratings of each other.
But how do you manage that?
I don't know. I don't. I just want Formula One to stay a sustainable sport. And given the attention spans of people and the amount of choice people have now, I can't see Formula One being able to carry on the way it is unless it becomes more entertaining. Don't get me wrong, it was a great race, yeah? But I mean, week in, week out entertaining and with racing each other, because that was a good race for us, people that just like Formula One and have been in for ages. But I can still totally understand how people could have watched the end of that race, got really excited when they saw Lewis Hamilton closing in on the top 3 cars.
Yeah.
And then when you hit that fucking air and everything just stalls and you stay where you are, I can understand people going, well, this is fucking bullshit. You know, I could understand people not enjoying that.
Yeah.
Where are we next? Racing Point, what are they called this week?
Well, I put Racing Point for a point because Force India are not actually going to be called Racing Point next year. Racing Point was a placeholder name that they've put in for the remainder of this season. They don't know what they're going to be called next year. They haven't got a clue. Racing Point was just something that they had to throw in for the remainder of this season
I
when
wonder
the
whether
when the
Paul might
buyout
be
happened.
right. Because is it Tommy Hilfiger he owns?
Yeah.
I'm wondering whether it will be like Hilfiger Racing. We had Benetton.
I was going to
Do you
say
know what I mean?
Benetton have done it.
Yeah.
You know,
It's-
they bought a team. They renamed it as themselves.
And it's to me, it would make sense for a team to do something like that because Hilfiger's got such a name clout as well. You know, you're not just bringing a team into Formula One. You're bringing a brand into Formula One and a recognizable brand as well. The only thing I'd think is, is it Hilfiger that do all the stuff for Mercedes, all the team gear?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the Lewis Hamilton clothing range.
Yeah, I just wonder whether that's a conflict of interest to have so much involvement with one team and then to bring your own team in as well.
It was very 90s way of doing it, but Benetton had had a United Colours of Benetton sticker, for want of a better word, on I think it was a Lotus, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Lotus, or there was another team on the grid that wasn't Benetton that had the United
I
Colours.
think you
of
might be right. It was Lotus.
I think it just depends whether you like the clothes or not. Lewis Hamilton is doing a lot for sort of modern credibility of Tommy Hilfiger. Do you know what I mean? There's a lot of people that think that those crazy pants that he was wearing that made him look like a bin man over the weekend. There's a lot of people.
Safety gear.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that think that's really cool.
He was on the what is it? He was on the Daily Show last week, and he was dressed as a barcode.
That's racist.
I hate to tell you, Lee, that stuff is really cool. It's Oz.
Oh yeah. No, I've always said I understand that he's cool. It's just not for me. But I suppose
four blokes that will never see their 20s again discussing fashion.
yeah, I suppose it's one of those things where is it more valuable for Tommy to be, when it comes to Formula One, to be just associated with Lewis Hamilton than it is for them to be associated with their own team that might not do so well?
Here's a theory for you. Might not do so well until they bring a multiple world champion to the team who's been associated with the brand.
I mean, that's not going to happen, but it's a lovely story. I need to stop doing that.
You really do, because I can see that spiking. Oh, I'm going to have fun editing this one, aren't I? It's a
Why
long
break the
shot
habit?
that something like that might happen, but
It's more than a long shot, I think.
It's a very long shot, but
Who
I
would have
don't
thought
think it's
Damon-
implausible.
who would have thought Damon Hill would be in an Arrows with a number 1 on it?
You need a new engine. You need an engine supply because the days, or the way Formula One is right now, who knows what 2021 is going to hold. I think the days of the independent team with the factory engine in it seem to be over for now. Joe, of winning teams.
How do you mean?
I don't think you're going to get a Red Bull situation where they start winning championships with a Renault engine in the back of it. You know, it's with the Renault there and with Mercedes.
With Mercedes customers.
Yeah, with Mercedes
winning,
being
yeah.
customers rather than a preferred manufacturer, I can't see a Mercedes-powered car winning a world championship while Mercedes are on the grid.
Yeah, it makes me wonder, whether or not teams like Hilfiger F1, if that's what they become, will look,
I still like Teamy Hilfiger.
will move into or look to bring in their own independent engine supplier.
I just don't think anyone's going to do it until the engine regs are simplified.
But it looks like if the 2021 regs come in 2021, which is still all completely up in the air,
Yeah.
it still doesn't look like there's going to be any new engine manufacturers coming in because nobody seems to have expressed an interest in doing it. All because of the MGUH.
We need Scarbs here to ask this question too, really. But I wonder, we're getting rid of the MG UK, but keeping the MGUH. Is that the
No,
way?
we were going to get rid of the MGUH. That's now staying.
So it's,
And keep the MG UK because,
so they're both there.
but they're both going to be there next next formula.
Would if they want to keep those on in the cars for some unknown reason, would the best thing there to make them standard parts? Because the energy recovery that would make
It
sense.
depends what point of view you're taking. If you are Mercedes and Ferrari, who has spent a shitload of time perfecting the MGUH
obviously.
and MGUK, then no, we want to keep those. Those are really important differentiators.
Yeah.
It's like Mercedes, Ferrari with their double batteried
Yeah.
MGUK. It's a little bit, don't quite know how that works.
If you're
But it's legal.
if you're Cosworth, then yeah, you'd like there to be no MGUH.
Yeah,
Because that's one less part that you have to design.
Yeah.
and what appears to be the tricky part, bit that keeps breaking.
Yeah, yeah.
Cosworth apparently their 2014 development engine that they built was going to be quite competitive. They just didn't have a car to put it in.
Wow.
And the thing is, when was the last time a Ford engine was competitive? And I think you were actually looking at Benetton.
2003 was the last Ford win. Jordan Ford, Fisichella in Brazil.
Shenanigans.
That was
That was the
Shenanigans,
one where he got the trophy the week after the race.
Is that
Yeah.
where everyone exploded?
Yes.
yeah. And the Jaguar crashed into the wall at high speed.
Was that Irvine?
And disintegrated,
Didn't Alonso's car finish that race in bits as well? Or...
possibly.
But no, we could see a new manufacturer coming in, but they need to make an agreement on what the hell's going to happen with the next regulations, and it looks like 2021 probably won't be happening for another couple of years after that.
I do wonder why you do it now, though. When you look at like motor and like globally, what is it? The 2020. What is it when the German emissions rules are coming in? Where you're gonna have to have electric cars.
2040.
2040.
Is it 2040? I thought that was the UK.
No, France want to ban all the sales of petrol and diesel cars by 2030, although most other European countries are aiming for 2040.
Oh, because I thought the UK's was 2040, and we were people were complaining that we weren't being ambitious enough.
Let's have a look. Austria is 2020.
See, yeah, I thought Germany was like 2022 or 2023, but point here, regardless of this, yeah. If you are, it must be 2020 because there was something saying that the current Mercedes that are being built now, by the time they've gone into production and come on the line, won't be able to be sold in Germany. because of the emissions things.
Germany's 2030, and
Yeah, I knew it was sooner. So,
but there might be tighter emissions rules as well as
Yeah.
the banning of petrol and diesel engines.
so what I'm saying is, say we are like we're 20, basically in 2019, yeah. So if you're looking at what another 15 years of fuel cars, like solid fuel cars, why would you enter Formula One and spend all that money developing an engine that isn't the future? That isn't the future, like the top of technology, when it's so cheap in comparison to Formula One to enter Formula E. Hence the reason it's where all the fucking manufacturers are right now.
Yeah, if you're wanting to develop an engine to help your cars be good road cars,
Yeah.
for the 2040, 2030, whatever it is, rules, Formula E is probably the place to be.
Yeah.
Formula One is still the better advertising platform.
It is right now, but my prediction for Formula E is that come because I reckon over the next couple of years they're going to funnel it in so it's a proper 1 year season rather than this
Yep.
over the 2 year season. Yeah,
well, it's starting later because it's starting in December this year, and
and what you're going to find is, I reckon 2021. You know when the new Formula One rules are.
Yep.
You will see the first one or maybe two because of the like technology leaps forward of Formula E cars doing tracks as well, and Formula E will end up evolving more into an IndyCar style series where you have obviously not ovals, but you've got the mixture of like street circuits, and instead of ovals, track circuits as
Yeah.
well. And I think it's at that point where you'll see this, like the blend of where Formula E and Formula One are actually competing with each other then. At that point.
Yeah. Can't argue.
We have strayed somewhat from Force India.
we
And
have.
Formula One.
We have. Going back to Force India, Perez finishing in 8th in the end, after finishing 10th.
Yeah.
Ocon was 8th, but disqualified for using the fuel too fast on lap 1.
Perez asking fairly early on if he could be allowed past Ocon.
Yeah.
Which they didn't let him do.
Ocon was brilliant all weekend.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's a driver error that your fuel flow meter, your fuel flow meter reads too much fuel per hour on lap 1. Hence why he was disqualified. That's a setup error, surely, or an engine mode error.
It's
an
either a
engine
settings error, or if it is a driver error, it's the driver putting the engine into
The wrong
the wrong
mode.
mode.
Yeah.
In which case, they shouldn't actually make that mode available because it's technically illegal. So what's the point of having that mode available to be switched?
It might not be. It could be a cruising mode that he
Yeah,
accidentally
yeah.
puts it in, but when you floor it, it just sucks loads of fuel through.
Because, I mean, the maximum allowed rate is 100 kilos an hour. That's the top flow rate. And I've not actually seen any figures for how far over it he went. You've got to assume it can't be all that far just because you wouldn't want to run a car that's only got 105 kilos of fuel in, running it at that rate when you know it's going to be running for an hour and a half, an hour and 3/4.
Well, the top and bottom of it is that the information from those sensors are fed directly back to the FIA. There's no. It's not like they hand them in at the end of the day on bits of paper. They'd have known immediately what was going on. They'd have known halfway through that race probably. So yeah, it's just one of those things. It almost, although it's a shame for Ocon losing his points, it's almost not worth talking about. Do you know what I mean? Because it is just, it's a rule. They broke the rules for whatever reason, and there was a penalty for it. And you've got to have the penalties there because if you then become lenient on it, Ferrari will then bend those rules.
Bend but don't break. But another potentially decent result for Force India, and the car is looking so much better now that it's had money behind it.
Yeah.
Right, Renault. Hulk in 6th, Sainz in 7th. Hulk was running in 5th at one point.
It was a great result for Renault.
They look competitive all weekend as well. It was good.
Yeah, I don't know quite where they were in the wet running, but I mean for both Renaults to be running, as I say, at one point fifth and sixth, and then Verstappen did his thing and got all the way up to near the top, pushing them to sixth and seventh. That's kind of where Renault need to be aiming for now. Do you know what I mean? Sixth and seventh is, best of the rest is where they need to be if they want to stick to their plan of winning races, podiums and winning races with Daniel Ricciardo in the car next year.
It's where they should be as well, because all due respect to Force India and Haas and stuff like that, or Sauber, they're not fucking Renault.
Renault are a manufacturer team.
Yeah.
There should be 4 teams at the top, and it should be the manufacturers.
Yeah.
World champions multiple times.
Yeah, just if things play out as you would expect.
Yeah.
Obviously, still behind one of their customer teams for performance this year, but obviously
I don't know, 2 Renaults finished.
that is true. Sainz's penalty though, harsh.
Yeah, very. He had to leave the track, otherwise he would have had a situation like what happened with Lance Stroll.
Yes, but he got a penalty for 2 things: for leaving the track and gaining an advantage.
But I don't know that he gained an advantage.
They obviously do.
Yeah.
From the replays, it looked like he left the track, came back on exactly where he was anyway. I mean, do they think he should have lost places by leaving the track?
Judging by the fact they gave him a penalty for it,
Yeah,
yes.
but quite often, yes. If you would lose places by staying on the track and not lose them by going off the track, then they define that as gaining an advantage.
Was this? What lap was this? Was it the first lap?
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
it was
so,
lap
yeah.
one.
So what's happened is he's done it. He's probably should have lost a couple of places, not given them back, and he's rolled the dice on them being lenient on the first lap.
Well, no, what I think they should do in that situation is, because the FIA have the power to do this, get on the radio and just say, come on, Carlos, that was a bit, or say to Renault, that was a bit naughty, Carlos. You need to drop a place.
Yeah.
You need to drop a place or 2, or you're getting a 5-second penalty. And then it's up to the team to go, we can push him really hard and try and make up that 5 seconds now, or we can drop him back and not get the penalty.
You see it quite a lot in Superbikes and MotoGP, where the riders are actually told after they've gone off, cut a chicane or missed a corner, to give a place back behind a certain driver. Sometimes I was watching the BSB final last weekend, and somebody had made up 3 places by cutting a corner. And he was told to drop back behind the guy that he initially overtook, who in the meantime had been passed by 2 other people.
So we have to lose
Yeah.
5 places.
He ended up losing 5 places.
Yeah.
Which is possibly what might have happened with Sainz. I don't think I saw a replay of that. But
It was
You know,
early
it-
on. He had to run wide to avoid other cars.
if in theory you should give a place back to the guy who was behind you, but the guy who was behind you is now half a field away and everything's changed,
Yeah.
it might be too difficult to work out what you should do and easier to just take the penalty.
Yeah, and I guess it's a lot easier to give places back on a bike than it is on a car because they're not taking up quite as much track.
Yeah.
But yeah, Renault finishing strongly this year.
Yeah,
hope
which
so.
is what
Yeah.
which is what they should do if they want to be in the mix for 2019. Be interesting, as we were saying before, about what would happen with the Red Bulls and the Honda, Honda Power. On paper, it doesn't look like a great matchup, but I mean, it might work out for them.
Yeah, I think 2019 is going to be a fight for the 3rd best team between Red Bull and Renault.
And Sauber, I think, as well. I think Sauber could be up there.
Possibly. I think it's going to be a lot tighter.
I think Force India or whatever they're called could be in as well, with just because of the funds they'll have behind them.
That's very possible. Rich
Yeah.
Energy Williams as well.
I think they've got a long way to go. If they're
Same
going to
with
get
McLaren.
back to the top, then they're not going to do it at the start of next year.
They'll
It might
leave
be-
McLaren and Toro Rosso in their wake.
The only thing I can think of with Williams, with looking where they might be on the grid next year, is remember Brawn and Williams, what they have over McLaren, for instance, because they couldn't get Key in when they wanted him in. Williams still have Paddy Lowe,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
So there's all.
The jump between the 2008 Honda and the 2009 Braun, which
Yeah,
was
it's-
designed by the same people.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So there's no reason why Williams can't turn themselves into a good mid-grid point scoring team in a year.
Yeah.
There's no reason. for
Who's
that.
not to say that Paddy Lowe's sat there now designing the triple diffuser?
Yeah.
Right, Red Bull. More engine woes. Well, battery or energy storage problems for Danny.
It's just electrical shutdown, wasn't it?
Yeah.
We don't know if it was anything to do with the fact that he was clouted by Sebastian Vettel a couple of laps earlier. It was wheel to wheel though, not wheel to side pod or anything. So
Yeah, well, it was the energy store that went wrong, according to Christian Horner, who also said that he went back into his driver's room and punched a hole in the wall.
he did look pretty angry when he got out of that Red Bull.
Yeah,
Yeah, because I think, like what Lee said before, I think Daniel Ricciardo thinks he could have won that race.
he had cheered up within about half an hour though, because I saw somebody interviewing Charles Leclerc after he went out.
Yeah.
And Ricardo walked past yelling penis
Okay.
because he knew that he was on live TV.
That's very childish, Daniel.
I think it's brilliant.
I think it's brilliant that Danny Ricciardo went straight from Suzuka to Austin. Was it Suzuka?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought I had the wrong race then. Straight from Suzuka to Austin, so he could enjoy Austin City Limits Festival and to get right into the feel of the whole sort of Texas and Austin vibe.
Well, Austin claims to be the live music capital of the world, which I wasn't too sure about, but then Dan, you pointed out that Austin City Limits and South by Southwest.
Yeah, and 6th Street in general.
Yeah. They have a fair amount going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's bars that play live music every night on 6th Street. Bars, plural, So,
This is us coming from a place where there's one bar that plays live music every month, but that's just shut down.
yeah, pretty much.
Interesting racing suits again. The cowboy thing this year.
Yes.
But Max,
Brilliant recovery drive. He won the official driver of the day, didn't he?
I think he was the driver of the day. I thought it was fucking phenomenal.
Had he not had penalties, would he have won that race?
Maybe.
I think that car was probably fast enough to win the race.
Yeah, I think it was too.
I think it was just handy enough on its tyres. I think that was the thing.
Yeah.
Well, he made the super softs last longer than anybody else did because we were waiting for him to make a second pit stop, and it just didn't happen.
When you think of the car's got extra downforce, so it's not sliding around as much, it makes sense. It's not wearing its tyres out.
But no, that was great, and another one coming from the back.
Yeah.
And being right at the sharp end. It didn't look like he had enough left to push Kimi for the win.
I think he
towards
did.
the
I
end.
think Kimi was coming back towards him.
Yeah, he kept on getting into DRS and dropping out, same as
Yeah.
Lewis did on.
But that was a lot of times when they were going through traffic, so it's very hard to tell. But I think
No, I think Kimi's tyres were done.
I think a start higher up the grid, and we will be talking about a Max Verstappen win.
Yeah, I think both Red Bulls had the opportunity to win the race, but what won that race, regardless of how exciting it looked, was Kimi Räikkönen getting track position on the first lap,
Yeah.
and it hammered home to me just what a sorry state cars following each other in Formula One are. Because I think both fucking hell, Lee, get the drivers. Both Lewis Hamilton and Verstappen had more pace than Kimi Räikkönen, and they couldn't attack it. Hamilton had like the one go to try and get past Verstappen, and he did it in such a weird place, which is why I think he went off, because he knew that was probably the only opportunity he was going to do it. He couldn't get close enough coming down the straights doing it to turn one or something like that.
No.
Which is fucking ridiculous when you consider the engine deficit they have.
But don't forget, a lot of times Max had DRS over Kimi as well as Lewis having DRS
I
on
realised
Max.
that, but it's just there was that wall though where they get so close.
And Max was using his battery mode to.
I'm
keep
I'm sure he was doing all the things to
all
defend,
the tricks.
but he wasn't doing like at one point. Lewis was like looking 2 seconds a lap quicker than them to get to the back of them, And then
which used to be all you needed to guarantee an overtake.
But they reckon now that the
Lap deltas.
well, no, such as the like you're saying about before about the weight coming off the car, that if you're 7 seconds behind a car, you're already feeling what's the car in front of you.
I think that's a bit. 7 seconds.
That's what
is
Sergio
huge.
Perez reckoned. It was 7 seconds.
That's what they have said at other tracks this
Some
year.
tracks have certainly said it. They said it was at Russia.
That seems awfully big. 7 seconds.
Yeah, but this is why Formula One's in issues.
Because otherwise, everybody would be dropping back to 7 seconds back.
Well, no, 7 seconds you can feel it.
You can feel it.
About 1.2, 1.5.
Yeah.
Once you're inside that, it's hurting your tyres, which is why you see drivers get close and then stop having a go and drop back.
Drop back
And
a
that's
bit.
the issue as well. That's why DRS isn't as effective in those situations, because you get into DRS range and you're getting all the shit off the back of the car anyway. So then if you've got an opportunity to use your DRS, you can't do it.
Well, it was. I think it was Bottas in Russia because he was wondering why there were no blue flags coming out for a car that he was 2 to 2.5 seconds behind, but couldn't actually get to within I think it was 1.5 seconds.
1.5 for blue
1.5
flags.
or 1.7.
Yeah.
And he couldn't actually get to within the amount of space to get the blue flags out, just because of the outwash and the weight coming off the back of the car in front. I think it was one of the Renaults. Hulkenberg rings a bell.
Yeah. But I think you can see it now. It used to be just a thing people used to talk about, but when you see an on board with the guy behind, you can see them having to correct the steering, having to put opposite lock on, here and there.
I mean, you see drivers actually fighting to keep the car straight on a straight.
Yeah.
When they're following someone.
So yeah, it's a shame because I mean I wanted Kimi to win that race. To be perfectly honest, I wanted Daniel Ricciardo to win that race because I had some money on him.
I was going to say how much.
And those odds were long. But but Kimi, I had a couple of quid on Kimi as well, so I was happy for that. But I wanted him to win the race. I wanted Lewis Hamilton to be second. But looking at the end of that race, he shouldn't have won that race. He should have been third when you look at the pace of the other two cars.
Yeah.
And it's not like apart from his driving against Lewis when both their tyres were going off, I thought his defensive driving was fucking incredible. But it wasn't defensive driving that won him the race.
It was because of the lap delta thing again.
Yeah.
Wasn't it? His lap delta wasn't big enough to be able to make that pass. You can be 0.2 a lap faster, and it's not enough to get you past.
But that's
because you need a gap of like 1.4, 1.6 seconds just to get past on.
But it's not. Yeah, but it's not just lap delta, is it? Because Hamilton had the lap delta on the two cars in front of him. It's the fucking invisible wall problem.
Well, that's part of it. Because that's why you need that delta
that extra thing
to be able to push you through it.
Who knows?
Mercedes next.
Yeah.
Well, Hamilton third, Bottas fifth. He's really not impressed you, has Bottas?
No,
has he?
I think that was his worst race of the year for Bottas.
Well, I don't know if it was the worst race of the year. I think might have been his worst race of this year, actually, thinking about it. It was last year, wasn't it? He went off the boil a bit.
But it was almost like he was in a different car to Lewis Hamilton.
Yeah, completely. But it's been like that a lot of the season.
I mean, Toto Wolff said before the race that they're probably going to bring team orders in this week if they need to. And
if they were able to.
Yeah, did Bottas just get the hum and like, well, I'm guaranteed not to be able to do well in this one, so I'm not going to bother trying.
He was worst out of, like, if you look at the top 6 drivers in those big 3 teams, as a driver performance, on a driver performance level, he was off the pace this weekend. I'm not saying that this is Bottas all over. It's just his inconsistencies do crop up every now and again, and this was one of them.
I think if you take him up to Baku, was it Baku was the one where he broke down?
He ran over bits of the Red Bull.
Yeah.
And
His tyre went
and
on
he
him.
was leading the race, wasn't he? By all rights, should have won the race.
Yeah.
But I think from that race, and I don't think that was a mental knock to him. I just think it's the way his season's gone. He was being off the pace, and then we've had the second half of the season, Lewis Hamilton, where he just kicks it into a different gear, and even if you can't even if you have a teammate to somebody that can't race them, which realistically is the best way to have a team, if we're perfectly honest. It's the Vettel Webber was a perfect team in some ways, because Webber was capable of being up there with Vettel, but 9 times out of 10 wasn't capable of beating him.
Yeah.
Um,
And Hamilton Rosberg.
Yes, yeah, but like he's not even helping. He's not even helping the team. He's too slow to even keeping Vettel behind him. I mean, Vettel made up 20 seconds on him,
Yeah.
and then Bottas ended up 30 seconds behind the leaders.
Yeah, it was a poor.
24.
24.
24.
Yeah.
But it's just crazy, and I can't help think that Mercedes must regret re-signing him for another year right now, and not.
Or is his head just down at the moment after being told to move over? He's been called a wingman. He should have won the Russian Grand Prix and was told to move over.
Russia was too little, too late though. He should have. It's his own fault he wasn't in the championship hunt in Russia.
Yeah, but there have been other races where he could have won, but
Just
he
Baku,
was
in my eyes.
Bahrain. He probably should have stuck it down the inside of Vettel.
Yeah, but again,
But-
it's his fault.
Yeah, that is one of his. But Russian Grand Prix, he was leading on his own pace, and he was asked to move over. What I'm saying is, you can argue why, but his head has dropped since he was asked to move over to let his teammate through.
The only thing I would argue about Russia is to say that he would have won in Russia takes out the any chance of if he was closer to Hamilton, in points, and they were allowed to race each other, is taken out that Lewis might have actually just been able to catch him and pass him.
I think that's why he was asked to move over, because there was no way Lewis was going to be able to with his
I
blistered tyre.
don't think they were going to risk like having them race each other anyway.
Because if you remember, Hamilton already had a blistered tyre, which is why they asked Bottas to
I
move
still
over.
think that was bollocks. But
Rubens Barrichello's brake issues.
yeah.
Still a great band.
But I just think he should still be in the championship fight.
You could argue as well that Raikkonen should be too.
Oh no, I would do. And Raikkonen isn't going to be in a Ferrari next year.
No.
Yeah,
I tell you what, I take Raikkonen over Bottas.
Yeah, is Bottas a better wingman than Raikkonen though? I think Ferrari.
No.
I think Mercedes have used Bottas to greater effect than Ferrari have used Raikkonen this year.
Oh, but yeah,
I'll be
but I think
honest.
that's more
Raikkonen's-
Ferrari's fault.
Yeah, but Raikkonen has just been used as a roadblock.
Yeah, but that's just bad fucking strategy from thing.
No, that's typical Ferrari strategy.
Yeah.
Number two in someone when they don't need to.
Yeah. I think Kimi would have been would be a wingman for Vettel if Vettel had had a better second half of the season. I think that Kimi, I'd have to look at all the stats, and I really can't be bothered. But I think he's been closer to Vettel than Bottas has been to Hamilton throughout the course of the season. Kimi hasn't been far behind.
Kimi's been ahead at some point.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at the at all the results this season. Biggest gap when they both finished was actually in China. It was Kimi that was ahead, third to Vettel's eighth. But for the most, Canada, Vettel first, Kimi sixth. But for the most part, there's been no more than 1 or 2 places between them.
Yeah.
They've always pretty much had a line of stern finish.
And don't forget, that's also with Ferrari leaving them out for fucking 3 or 4 weeks
Yeah.
on pit stops too. I actually, apart from the fact that Ferrari obviously want Charles Leclerc into a Ferrari, I think there was probably another year in Ferrari for Kimi. I don't think it was probably not quite the right time to get rid of him, in my eyes. Not the way Vettel's being. I think Vettel was being stronger.
I think Leclerc's being brought in to maybe shake up Vettel a little bit. He won't be a number 2 driver to Sebastian Vettel.
No, I don't think so.
Next year's Danny Ricciardo.
Yeah.
So that just leaves Ferrari. And another early spin for Vettel. I actually asked Craig Scarborough about Vettel's spinning because it seems that that's his third this season, where somebody's just caught him and he's just had a very unlikely spin, where you wouldn't actually think he would be the one to suffer from that. And so I sent Craig a message and said, "Is there anything technical behind this? Is there an issue with balance with the car? Is there something going on with the way Vettel sets it up, with the way that Ferrari sets it up?" And he came back and said, "No, he just boots it when he gets tagged."
It's a good.
Which actually thinking about it sounds like it's what he's doing.
Well, I think I'd be interested to know what Craig thinks about what Julian Palmer said on the BBC podcast, because what Palmer's answer for it as a driver, like, I thought it was really good. His thing was that Vettel's so worried because of the points deficit he's got and the fact he has to maximise everything to even just keep himself in, that he's so worried about making contact. He's trying to leave so much room when he's going in for a move that he's already lost it. His back end's already going because he's not attacking enough. So then when he does bump somebody, his back end's already loose, and that's what's making him spin. I thought it was a really good breakdown. Julian Palmer, quietly, best Formula One pundit in the world right now. Who'd have thunked it? Those who can't do.
Teach.
Talk about it.
I've been told usually. Don't tell someone.
No.
Yeah, it's just three bad spins for Vettel, and that's ruined his championship hopes.
I also, again, I think if, I mean, it was a light touch, but I can't help thinking if somebody else had done that, they might have got a little penalty somewhere.
You mean if it was Max on the inside and someone else on the outside? Yeah. Or Lance Stroll.
Yeah.
Might have got a penalty. Romain Grosjean. The
Would've
world
got-
would have exploded.
Firing squad.
Yeah. When's their new single out?
I like the idea of Roman Grosjean and the firing squad.
Yeah, supporting Eddie Irvine's brake problems at Glastonbury. But Kimi gets away on the first corner,
Yeah.
leads. Mm-hmm. Great bit of defensive drive into knacker Hamilton's tyres.
That was the best driving Kimi's done since he came back into Formula One, I think. That and even the little fake he did trying to get Hamilton to go in the pits.
Yeah.
Or not go in the
Or not-
pits as it
yeah.
was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was fucking great, that.
Yeah, I mean, Ferrari were getting an absolute slating on Twitter for not pitting.
Not only on Twitter, on various TV feeds and in
Various blogs.
Maybe a blog room or two.
Yeah, kind of worked though, because Bono said to Lewis, "Do the opposite of Kimi."
That wasn't, for me, that's not the strategy call that won the race for Kimi. The strategy call that won the race for Kimi was when Mercedes decided not to bring Lewis Hamilton in, when the gap went from 17 seconds to 16 seconds.
Yeah, I think they wouldn't have told Lewis to do the opposite to what Raikkonen did
Yeah.
if both strategies weren't viable.
Yeah.
I also think with Kimi's tyres being the state they were at the end of the race, that Hamilton would have got past Kimi.
He also,
I don't know. I think in a race way earlier in the season when the championship wasn't quite so close to being decided, yes, definitely.
Yeah.
This race where Lewis is
I
about
know what you
maximising
mean,
the points.
but I think Lewis would respect Kimi enough to Lewis would have
to give him
respected
less
enough
space than Max.
to beat him. Yeah, he would have respected him enough
Well,
to beat him.
he came out of the pits from, what was he, something like 12 seconds behind Raikkonen, and he said, how is he 12 seconds? And if Mercedes had stopped Hamilton for new rubber when the gap came down to 16, 15 seconds, because it was clear by that point that Hamilton was losing time. He was on pace with Hülkenberg, who was like sixth or seventh at the time, rather than
Probably seventh, because that's where he qualifies in all the time anyway.
yeah, rather than being on pace with the Red Bulls and the Ferraris and all the other the cars all around the top five. But that Mercedes lost too much time. That for me is a strategy call that won Kimi Raikkonen in the race, because if Hamilton had come out only 2.5, 3 seconds behind Raikkonen, roughly where Bottas was, Bottas wasn't going to cause Hamilton any problems, was he?
No.
Bottas would have moved to one side again. Thank you, Valtteri, and Hamilton would have been able to hunt down Kimi quite quickly, and then I think we would have seen a different ending to the race, and probably be sat here tonight saying Hamilton is world champion.
Yeah.
Now, Mercedes aren't known for being shit strategists.
But they got that wrong.
So, is there something that we don't know about that would have stopped him doing that?
You do
Back
say
markers or
that,
something
but
like that?
Mercedes do tend to. They haven't come with shit strategies, but they do have a history of not making the call at the right time. There's been a few times where Hamilton. How many times have you heard Hamilton come on the radio going, "How's he ahead of me?" or "Why is he 16 seconds ahead of me here?" And it's
Yeah.
always been because.
Well, wasn't it in Japan they pitted Hamilton a lap late because Toto was talking to the strategist about what the best strategy to do is, and then they realised it was one lap ago while they were having the discussion.
Oh, I don't know about that. Don't know, but I just know that they've definitely done this, leaving somebody out too long. Because the problem was that when we haven't seen it for a while, but Hamilton's tires went off the cliff.
Yeah.
Essentially, he lost so much time in that lap; it was unbelievable. But you could see that, like they were blisters. You know, you could see on his back tire. I don't understand why there wasn't somebody in Mercedes going, "Hang on a second, lads, this is not going to work here." You know, the fucking cleaner was at the back, looking at the monitor, going, "Wouldn't like to be them."
Yeah.
Well, when Chris said, if Hamilton pits now, he comes out right behind Raikkonen.
Yeah, on fresh tires, it was a
That-
no-brainer.
That was the time to do it,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
even if they did need to stop again, they'd both need to stop again.
Yeah, exactly. They both had the same problem. You know, they both would have had the same problem. For me, Mercedes threw that away rather
Yeah.
than Ferrari winning it for a change. It looked like Ferrari had thrown it away, but it wasn't the first pit stop call that for me that made the race. It was the second one that Mercedes got wrong, quite wrong.
Yeah.
They thought that Lewis would have fresher tyres towards the end of the race. And they didn't bank on Max Verstappen being in the way. And he
No.
wouldn't have been if they brought him in earlier.
I think the other mistake was when he was on the fresh tyres after his first pit stop, Hamilton raced Raikkonen very, very hard.
Yeah.
When if he'd cruised, if he'd been easy on his tyres,
Yeah.
he might have been able to one-stop the race. It
possibly.
would have been ice skating around for the last 2 laps, but
I don't think that would have. Yeah.
It-
I'm not
it
sure
was
that would have changed the
two
outcome.
laps before the pit window opened,
Yeah.
which you can probably push the tyres that much
If you nurse them.
if you nurse them,
he
even though
didn't.
the pressures were higher.
Yeah.
And
He
deck
went
was
he
supposed
went
to be
he
higher.
went full on biggest gap as possible.
Yeah.
Well, Lewis's breakdown of why he thought for Ferrari had sort of almost, to be perfectly honest, I think they looked into the right strategy because they put those soft tires on Kimi Raikkonen not to help him win the race, to help him get ahead of Hamilton, to help him help Vettel.
Yeah.
That was the reason for it. But Lewis reckons that those tires lasted longer than anyone thought they were going to. And because he was so quick, he managed to gap him. So when Lewis pitted, he said, then I was X amount of seconds behind him. He said, so I had to catch him. Then by the time I'd catched him, my tyres were gone. So I was in the same situation again. And Lewis was saying that him having those fast tyres at the beginning of the race negated Hamilton having the harder tyre because he burned his tyres up just trying to stay with him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the main problem that all the teams had, though, was the lack of dry running on a Friday, so nobody knew how long any set of tyres was going to last.
No, do you know what the best thing is? Get rid of Friday. Get rid of Friday and we have good races.
I'm not sure I agree. Get rid of Friday and teams will work out how to get the absolute best data they can out of Saturdays.
Probably.
It'd work for 3 months,
Yeah.
and then after that they'd have it down to a science, same as they do practices at the moment.
Yeah, probably.
I'll have qualifying as the first session on a Friday, but then you lose the TV revenue.
Yeah, absolutely. All in all, though, it was a pretty interesting race, and who can take it away from Raikkonen for winning his first race in, as we just said before.
Absolutely fantastic. to
6
see it.
years, yeah.
I mean, it's great to say, and of course, this is the first time we've been able to say Kimi won.
Yeah.
Yes, it
We've
is,
never
yeah.
actually been able to say it on this podcast.
We've said Kimi should have won a few times.
Oh, countless. But you know, the first time we've done it
Yeah.
might be the only time we ever do it.
I think, I mean, unless he can win another one this year, it's going to take something pretty biblical to happen for a Sauber to win a race.
Yeah, unless their performance curve suddenly takes an upward spike.
It would be one hell of a spike.
Yeah.
So heroes and villains then. I'm
Kimi
put-
is hero.
Kimi hero.
with an honourable mention for the guy that grabbed the microphone.
No, villain. Because that was pointless and utterly rubbish. Much like the Shadow Eagle was a villain of mine last year.
Yeah, but the guy who grabbed the microphone wasn't Liberty Media doing it for.
Yeah.
No.
Max Verstappen was the hero. That was a fucking amazing drive.
It was a brilliant drive.
And Valtteri Bottas was is the villain for wasting a championship, a car capable of winning a world championship.
Fernando Alonso was the villain.
For losing his
being-
temper.
For his massive rant about how everyone was an amateur,
Yeah.
and then saying, "Actually, I've watched it back, and they weren't that bad."
Roman Grosjean. Just for being Roman Grosjean.
Force India and Haas are claiming that the stewards are the villains for only giving 5 seconds to Carlos Sainz rather than a lot more.
Okay.
Yeah.
Haas are just salty over their fuel cheating.
Right, so there was quite a lot of predictions going on. Just talk about the listeners' ones on the website. You know how last week we had Bjorn van der Hoff with a complete last race. Bjorn van der Hoff with his complete clean sweep.
Oh,
Did
yeah.
you do it again?
No one got even close.
I don't think our predictions went particularly well either, did
Oh
they?
no, they really didn't. Eric Radstake. Oh, that's what it looks like on here.
Rad Steak?
Radstake.
You know,
Eric Radsteak.
No, but you know, somewhere in Texas, that's a restaurant.
Eric's Rad Steaks. You know, especially for when they had the X Games there. Eric was top with 6 points. He had Hamilton for pole and fastest lap. Hamilton win, Verstappen second, and Danny Rick third. And that gets you 6 points in this one. Predictions are open now for the Mexico Grand Prix. You've got until just before the start of FP1 to get your times in. If you go to 3legs4wheels.com, look on the games section, and you will find it's there, the 2018 Grand Prix Prediction League. Log in with your social network details. We don't keep them, we don't sell them, we don't do anything with them. It's just purely for login purposes.
Yeah, neither do the third party.
And neither do the third party that runs this app for us. Log in, put your predictions in for the top 3, fastest lap and pole position, and see how you get on compared to anyone else and us, because our predictions,
Poor.
and this is not good reading.
It was an unpredictable race, wasn't it?
It was an unpredictable race. We had... Lee, what are you doing?
Nothing to do with you. It's fine.
It's always a worry when you say things like that, pointing a phone at me.
No, it's favourite to tweet. Formula E, I'll say. Formula E have just tweeted a picture of Fernando Alonso speaking to Stoffel with the tweet. So, Stoffel, can I come to Formula E with you next season?
Yes, Fernando, bring your own bumpers. Chris,
1 point.
1 point for Hamilton. Ricardo and Vettel, second and third, not so much.
I think it might have been on the cards if there was no crashy earlier on, but there was crashies.
Or breaky downy.
Yeah.
Dan, 1 point for Hamilton, because you had him first. Bottas second, Vettel third. Lee,
Yeah.
1 point for Hamilton first, Bottas second, Vettel third. Oops. Me, 1 point for Hamilton, Vettel second, Bottas third. Sean won this week. Hamilton, Verstappen and Vettel, 4 points altogether. She's got Verstappen in the right place. So as far as the league goes, I'm still on top with 56. Lee, you and Sean are tied for second on 54. Dan, I think you are on 51. And Chris, 46.
Wasn't it the other way around?
Or is it... Sorry, Chris, you're on 51. Dan, you're on 46.
Yeah, I thought I was slipping down the table.
Yeah. 27 points available for 3 races. Still all to play for, allegedly.
Yeah.
Should we do Mexico next, or should we have a break and do the news?
Let's do some news. Well, there isn't a lot, is there?
We've already spoken about Raikkonen breaking records.
Yeah.
Albon's kind of going to Toro Rosso. We think.
Maybe.
It's looking more likely that he's going to take that second seat.
As you saying, Nissan have had how many applications? 15 to 20?
15 to 20. And one of the things I said is some of the drivers that have applied you wouldn't believe.
You might have a jump
Guido van der Garde.
cut come tomorrow.
I might have a jump cut in the morning.
Yeah.
Which, if it happens, wow.
Yeah.
My guess would be that if Nissan are releasing that story, it's to put pressure on Albon to make a decision.
Or Toro Rosso to do whatever they want them to do.
I think the main pressure is going to be on Helmut Marko to decide.
I think it'll be monetary, won't it? Because if they're doing that, they're going to want compensation for it if they've got him booked in for a season. So it's going to be whatever buyout that Toro Rosso are willing to do.
Well, of course, this is there's going to be sour grapes from the Nissan side of things because Nissan have taken over the Formula E on the Infinity project, which used to be with Renault, which used to sponsor Red Bull right up to the point where they sacked them off and got in Aston Martin as title sponsors.
Well, Nissan's Japanese, isn't it?
Yeah.
Do you think there's any... There'd be anything? Because let's face it, Toyota wouldn't give a driver to Honda. I wonder if there's anything there between Nissan and Honda.
Nissan have got ties in with Renault, haven't they? Road car tie-ins with Renault.
Yeah. That's the whole Infinity thing because the Infinity Edams team.
You know,
it's run by
I
Dams
mean like
Racing.
bad blood, as in like, you know, it's would it be?
Well, they're competing in the same market, aren't they?
I don't think it's quite like it is between Honda and Toyota.
No.
I think Nissan.
But if you've all of a sudden had a driver that's had all these press photographs with Nissan on, as Nissan would then want to see that same driver that was supposed to start the season with your team with Honda on him?
No.
Probably not. But given that it's different formulas,
Yeah, but
it's not the same as
no,
if he's
I know,
going from one Formula One team to
I know,
another.
I know it's not the same, but I'm just wondering whether it's a factor. That's all. I'm not saying it is or it should be, but it's just a thought.
Could be.
Like, who knows? Honda may have been bigging up Danny Rick, some PR for Red Bull Honda, and then all of a sudden he's just like, "No, I'm sticking with Renault. See you guys later."
Yeah.
Yeah, that series of videos that Red Bull were putting out with Danny Rick's World Tour, where they released the first one, and then
That
he
was it.
signed for Renault, and all of a sudden they were never
They
mentioned
stopped.
again and brushed under the carpet.
Yeah.
Because we all thought at the time, and the last video was going to be him turning up at the headquarters to sign his contract.
Yeah, and it wasn't.
And I wonder if the next one was going to be him driving through France, and instead got out of the Renault factory and signed a contract there. What else have we got? That's probably about everything. Oh no, Lance Stroll.
Just quick one with Lance Stroll.
Yeah.
World's worst kept secret ever.
Yeah,
Both-
Williams driver Lance Stroll will be testing a Force India in Abu Dhabi for Pirelli at the end of the season.
Yeah, well,
Now, could this lead to a contract? Do you think he'll do well enough?
Yeah, almost certainly. Perez basically said at FP2, he was asked when there were no cars running, he was asked by Sky, Simon Lazenby, you've got Lance Stroll coming to the team to join you next year. How do you think he'll get on as a teammate? You're looking forward to him joining the team. I was fully expecting Perez to go, well, nothing's confirmed for next year. Whoever comes in, the normal party line that you would get when no seat's confirmed. But no, Perez answered with, yeah, it'd be quite interesting having him in the team. He's coming from quite a strong team like Williams.
Yeah.
So he's Don't discount him because they know what they're doing at Williams, even though their performance isn't there so far this year. It'd be interesting to have him as a teammate. I'm looking forward to working alongside him. And I was just like, he's basically just confirmed Lance Stroll for Force India. Nobody's actually done that yet. And then was it Saturday or Sunday? They were asking Otmar Safnauer about the
Yeah, I thought it was Sunday. It was before,
Sunday.
just before the race, I think.
Yeah, Otmar Safnauer. So you announced the arrival of. So you announced one driver by using a sombrero. What would you use to announce the other one? And he said, I don't know, a Canadian Mounties outfit, maybe. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, even Claire Williams is talking about who's going to be in the other seat at Williams next year.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh no, we know Lance Stroll's going there, but it's just that why hasn't it been confirmed, even though everybody's already talking about it?
Because contracts are tricky.
Yeah, but I mean, even outside of contracts, people are already talking to the world's media like he's joining and he's going to be a good asset, etc. You know, like it's already confirmed. It just seems a bit odd.
Yeah,
to me.
just hurry up and get on with it.
Yeah, I think it's pretty much a done deal, but it's not actually a done deal, and it can't be confirmed until it's actually a done deal.
Yeah.
The only
Part
thing,
of the deal could be that Ocon goes to Williams, of course.
yeah, the only part of the deal that I can think is what is he going to have to pay Williams to not drive for them next year when he was already contracted to, and bring X amount of money in.
I'd just pay up the rest of his, pay the fee, I'd imagine.
Maybe part of his payout for the Williams contract is to get Ocon into that seat.
Maybe Williams are trying to get more money out of him so that they can afford to get Ocon into the seat, because apparently that's just down to the budget.
I can't help think that, what, like I said before, Bottas's performance is going to make Mercedes push to get Ocon a seat.
It would be
Yeah, they obviously they've got Russell on the grid, but when you think
It's an unknown quantity, Russell. You know,
Yeah.
we all of
they
us
had
here
Ocon
want
a
to
couple
do
of
well.
years ago
yeah.
and Verline, and
Look at
chose Bottas for the
Stoffel.
main team.
Look at Stoffel's leaving Formula One this year after, like we said last week, ripping Formula 2 apart, looking like he was going to be the next fucking hot tits, and now it's time for him to go because it just hasn't worked out for him. So I mean, Ocon, regardless of what George does next year, even if Ocon just does, don't get me wrong, I still stand by my statement that I think Ocon should have already been in that Mercedes, or he should be booked to go to Mercedes next year, but he didn't do well enough this year to get the seat off Bottas. But I don't think Bottas has done well enough to keep it. So now I kind of almost think it's almost like a Red Bull situation where I don't think Bottas should be in that car. So they might as well have put Ocon in it to see how Ocon fares in the Mercedes.
Yeah,
Because I don't think he'll do worse than Bottas. That's the thing. It depends what they want. It depends whether they want somebody to push Lewis or not.
this is an interesting discussion about Lance Stroll.
Yeah, but you brought Ocon into it, not me. But yeah, I think he'll be in Williams next year. Tell you what, that'd be a fucking good team for Williams to have all of a sudden.
Yeah,
Oh, there's worse lineups they could have.
Yeah.
Anything with Sorokin in at the moment.
So, well,
that's the thing. I don't know. We don't know how good Sorokin is because his Williams is just awful.
No, but we kind of know how good Stroll is, even though I am looking forward to seeing him in a better car.
Yeah.
And Stroll's look like the stronger driver out of the two of them. If you've got two drivers and Stroll's looking like your stronger driver, you get rid of the weaker one immediately.
I mean, I think one thing where Stroll's definitely outshone Sorokin is Stroll is far better in the wet.
Far better in the wet and far better at qualifying as well.
And when you've got a car that can't overtake, you might as well try and start it as high up the grid as possible. So on to Mexico this week.
Yes.
Formula One heads south in the Americas.
Yes.
generally not a hugely exciting race, is it?
No,
Though it's-
high altitude. Mexico City's quite high up, and Red Bull have been playing up their.
What was it? The B spec is better at handling the thinner air than the C spec, and that's why we've got the penalties.
Yeah,
But
but
are we
there's
going to see Danny Rick having to take more penalties anyway? Because they're going to have to replace the energy store that failed on him because he's run out of them. Because you're only allowed 2, and I think he was on his 4th.
I don't know. But the Christian Horner was saying it again this weekend. Even on the grid, Mexico is going to be a completely different race for us. Well, they did pretty well in Austin, up to the point where Daniel Ricciardo had to pull over.
So hopefully hopefully Mexico won't be a completely different race for them.
Yeah, hopefully it'll be a more successful race for them. I don't know that. I think it's Red Bull's only remaining chance of a win, bar perhaps some rain at Interlagos or something
Yeah.
before they switch to Honda.
I think so, because the last two races of the season just aren't going to suit Red Bull as a package.
No, we love the baseball section, don't we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Baseball stadium,
And
that's
have it-
amazing.
It's one of the races I'd most like to go to.
Yeah,
Yeah, and having the podium actually in that section rather than by the finish line, great move.
yeah.
Are we going to see a spinny DJ this year?
Hopefully.
Are we going to see Lewis take the World Championship at Mexico again?
Absolutely.
Bearing in mind, as we've already said, he only needs to score 6 points.
He needs
5
a
points.
DNF. Unless he doesn't finish, he's going to be world champion.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah.
It's not even that. If Vettel fails to win the race, Hamilton's world champion.
Oh yeah.
Well, I think just as they were finishing the coverage yesterday, Sky said, "Oh, Hamilton needs to outscore Vettel in Mexico by 5 points." No, he doesn't.
No.
He just needs to score 5 points.
Over the rest of the season.
Yeah.
And Vettel has to win everything.
Yeah.
Because I didn't even realise that until this afternoon.
Vettel has to outscore Hamilton by 20 points.
Yeah, well, I was thinking of DNFs and stuff like that, but even if Hamilton doesn't finish, only finishes like the last race and gets 5 points, he still wins the world championship, doesn't he? If
Yeah.
Vettel wins all the races.
Yeah, could on count back because he's won
Yeah.
more races.
So
So Hamilton was crowned champion with a 9th place finish last year in
Yeah.
Mexico.
We saw the car that he did it in. It's actually still got the dead flies stuck
Yeah.
to it. Basically, what they did was Mercedes just packaged the whole thing up and stuck it in the foyer in Brackley.
Yeah, that's cool.
nice. I think it would be great to see somebody win the world championship and the race there. At that sort of amphitheatre bit.
Yeah.
it would be such a good scene for Formula One.
Yeah, like a race winner who's also world champion.
Yeah.
See, I'm not sure.
I think he won't do it that way.
I think there's two Red Bulls that are going to get right in the way of that.
I think so as well. Yeah, I think this Red Bull and Ferrari fight this, and I don't think Mercedes are going to be too on it.
I think you're probably right. I think Ferrari have yet again got the fastest car in Formula One.
Too little, too late though.
No, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, I don't necessarily think Mercedes won't be on it, but I think Hamilton will probably be playing it incredibly safe, winning the world championship, whatever.
He'll be amongst it.
happens with
Like
the race.
he'll definitely be amongst it.
Alternative, well, he could go along the lines of, well, I've pretty much got the world championship. I'd like to win the race and win the world championship that way.
Yeah, or it could be like, you know what, 5th is a lonely place in this race, isn't it? I don't have to go much slower before Nico
No.
Hülkenberg catches me.
I don't think he'll do that because I think he remembers 2008,
2007.
7. So,
Yeah.
No, 2008 wasn't it? Where he won the world championship because fucking glocked through the towel in.
Yeah, which was 2008.
Yeah, that was.
Yeah.
2008. I
Yes,
thought you were
but-
talking about the beaching in China.
No,
But if he just runs in 5th,
oh yeah.
then he's still got 2 more races to sort it out.
But he almost lost the world championship at that race because because McLaren focused on getting him to 5th, wasn't it?
Well, no, because I mean, even 7th place is good enough for him.
Oh,
if
yeah.
he,
Yeah.
I know it's fine, but
if Vettel wins the race.
Don't forget,
I think he's
2000,
going to win it. Like
2008 was a complete wild card because of the rain as well. Nobody expected the weather to be that changeable, and the strategies were all over the place.
Yeah.
And Toyota didn't change Glock's tyres.
I still don't think it's in Lewis Hamilton or Mercedes DNA to race to finish 5th.
I think it could well be. They've played it safe before.
Hamilton drives an awful lot like Alain Prost. I've said that before. For somebody who's such a massive Ayrton Senna fan, he drives calculated like Alain Prost.
Yeah.
Ridiculously so.
If he plays it safe this weekend, then he can do what he likes at the next 2 races.
Yeah, yeah, possibly.
Yeah, you
We'll
could go
see.
out to win at Brazil and Abu Dhabi and break his duck of finally winning a race
Yeah.
in a season where he wins a championship.
And,
or
and I said yesterday that I think he's going to do that this year, just looking at how relaxed he is.
yeah,
as relaxed as he was driving in Abu Dhabi 2 years ago.
I think the
Or
other
barely driving
factor is chances of Raikkonen being right on it and winning a race. I mean, when you consider how long it's been since he won a race, it's pretty slim.
Yeah, I think Ferrari and
Yeah.
Red Bull have got a fight with this. I mean, Raikkonen is in the mix.
Yeah,
clearly
he always
being
in
a
the
Ferrari
mix,
driver.
But and also Ferrari's going with a pretty down, dejected Sebastian Vettel. So I don't think it's the team. I don't think I think the car might be there, but I don't think the team will be there.
Maybe.
I mean, Kimi, again, saying that, Kimi might be, especially if Vettel's off because he knows he's failed to win the championship again. Maybe that's what Kimi needs to perform well, as knowing that he doesn't have to do anything for Vettel.
Yeah.
And the only way he'll be asked to move aside is if he's in
leading.
first
Yeah,
and Vettel's in second.
Yeah.
Anywhere else, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I'd love to know what Kimi would do in that situation.
I think he would move over.
Do you think?
Yeah.
I don't. Not when he's on the way out the door anyway.
Yeah.
I think he'd certainly be asking, "Where's Lewis?"
Yeah. I think he would be asking
Yeah.
that, yeah. Yeah, if Hamilton drops out, let me know. Then I'll let him past.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Vettel said this week that it's not just things on the track that have put them where they are in the championship, but Vettel being Vettel doesn't want to elaborate on that.
They were talking about Sergio Marchionne and having the restructure mid-season.
I can't help think that that's almost an untasteful and slightly fortunate excuse.
No, Maurizio Arrivabene dedicated the win, didn't he, to Sergio Marchionne?
Oh yeah, no.
Talking of Arrivabene, did you see the amount of fist pumping and what I think is what we all thought at the time was the Italian for get the fuck in when Kimi made that move?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're watching it on the big screens, yeah. And also when Vettel went past Bottas. Yeah, the same expression.
Interestingly, there's talk next year of another reorganisation at Ferrari before the start of the season. I can't remember where I read this afternoon, but they're talking about having co-team principals, one dealing with racing matters and the other dealing with team matters. That is a clusterfuck waiting to happen.
No, because lots of teams do that.
That's very Benetton 1990s, isn't it? Where Ross Brawn looked after the racing side of things. And who was it who was looking after not Benetton, sorry. Yeah, what was Benetton, wasn't it? Before when Schumacher was at Benetton, Flavio Briatore was team principal, and Ross Brawn, being designer, was also in charge of like the team away from the track.
But Ross Brawn still answered to Flavio Briatore, I think. This one, it's
Yeah,
going to be
that's a good
it's going to be two people on an equal footing that can't overrule each other. This is Ferrari just setting up their own
That sounds weird.
intra-team deathmatch for next year.
So is Arrivabene not going to Juventus now?
I don't know because, like I said, I just read that they're looking at having co-team principals.
Yeah.
And if Arrivabene one of them, I think it might. Is it to force him into making his mind up whether he's going to move to Juventus or not?
Arrivabene and Raikkonen as co-team principals.
The interviews would be interesting.
Yeah.
I would pay to be in those press conferences.
Yeah. So would the driving be for Sauber with a team principal Ferrari being in the Sauber? That
And
might be a bit odd.
Arrivabene run down the pit lane to speak to Kimi halfway through a race. Yeah. or just to be greeted with, I don't know.
I don't know. I'm trying to race here. Leave me alone.
If you wanted to speak to me, you should have left me in your car.
So that's Ferrari's 2019 implosion already sort of primed and ready to go. It's like a teaser at the end, teaser and cliffhanger at the end of a series before the next one. How are Ferrari going to shoot themselves in the foot next year? Stay tuned to find out.
It could also go the other way and work out really well for them.
Yeah, but this is Ferrari.
Yeah.
This is this millennium's Ferrari. Should we do some predictions?
Go on then.
Right, got Shans here. She thinks Hamilton will actually win it, with Verstappen second and Bottas third.
On current form, I think that's unlikely. But then we get to Friday, and that could all change. Much like this weekend just gone, we got to dry running on Saturday, and everything suddenly changed.
Not seeing the weather forecast for this weekend, so I don't know if we're going to be getting anything similar.
Lewis, Verstappen, Ricardo.
I am going for Lewis, Vettel, Verstappen.
Vettel, Raikkonen, Hamilton.
Chris?
Ricardo, Verstappen, Vettel.
We've all gone very, very different. Makes a change. We'll see how this plays out.
We will.
It's going to be a good weekend anyway. And I will say, because I forgot to say last week, the live blogs will be happening. Thank you, Sean, for doing the qualifying blog on Saturday night. I was at a charity event, so I couldn't do qualifying.
Paul was elsewhere.
I was otherwise engaged, being quizmaster and for some reason an auctioneer.
Oh, well.
But this Saturday, I may have a gig Saturday night, but I've actually timed things so that I don't have to go to the gig until just after qualifying finishes.
That's
Nice.
pretty impressive because qualifying was late Saturday, just gone. It
That
was like
was
9 o'clock,
exceptionally
wasn't it?
late, wasn't it?
It was late because they had it was all part of the weekend's entertainment because it was straight from qualifying to the gig that they had.
Right.
Bruno
It was
Mars.
Bruno Mars Saturday, I think it was Britney Spears on Sunday. But the Bruno Mars gig
No
started.
wonder Mike McPherson wanted to stick around a bit longer. Britney Spears on a Sunday.
But yeah, that's why they had the qualifying late so that people didn't wander off in a 2-hour gap where there's nothing going on. So it's qualifying's done. Now come and see Bruno Mars, who The Guardian once described as a compact man with intriguing hair.
A compact man with intriguing. Oh dear, that's awful.
I think that was a couple of years ago when he was doing the Super Bowl halftime show. I think it will be total shunt time.
Grand.
Cover my eyes like horse blinkers here because I'm actually today sat quite close to Lee. He's turned his laptop around a little bit. That's fine. Who sent this one in, Lee?
This one was sent in by Juan David Gomez.
I think he might be a wham.
Nope. Juan.
Juan Gomez.
Did we have this conversation on the Patreon last week, or was it on the main show?
I think it was on the main show.
Right, so this isn't just an
I
in-joke.
hope so. I was born in 1958.
Sorry, I had to do that. I just found out today that my friend's husband is actually a doctor of the blues.
Yes.
Born in 1958. Right, so that would make them 60 this year.
I entered Formula One in the Year of Champions, 1982, and participated in 29 events.
So somebody who was only around for probably a season and a bit.
Yeah.
In fact, it might be 2 seasons.
2 seasons roughly around about that time. So we're talking
So-
somebody who was first entered it in 1982, was that Lee?
Yeah,
So 82,
the
probably
greatest year in human history.
the year of
It was a
champions.
fantastic World Cup that year.
I think Lee doesn't remember it.
Nope.
Keke Rosberg won the world championship.
I was not.
So it's somebody who probably spent 82 and 83 maybe in Formula One.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's go for the next clue before we.
I was the first driver from my country to qualify and start a Grand Prix race.
First driver from this is Sean Kelly territory. This isn't it? First driver from my country because we know that people like Salt Baumgartner he's the only Hungarian.
Probably looking for somebody from Liechtenstein or.
Now I'm taking these questions literally. You've got to break it down to how many Formula One drivers have actually owned countries.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
Nico Rosberg.
Nico Rosberg. I'd imagine Lance Stroll owns a country somewhere.
And the Prince of Thailand take part in some races in the 50s.
That was Sean Kelly's
Yeah.
off the cuff total shunt that he gave us, wasn't it?
Yeah, the one that we got absolutely nowhere on.
So 72, 73. So, sorry, 82, 83.
82,
Sorry.
83.
Wasn't PK's first championship 83, possibly?
Possibly.
See, this is a period of Formula One that's a little bit dark on my knowledge.
Yeah, but it
because-
wouldn't have been PK because he was definitely around for more than 2 seasons.
I'm going to hurry you.
No,
and I'd
no,
like a
it's not going to
guess.
be PK. No, I'm just saying PK's champion. We're not looking for a champion. We're looking
No.
for somebody who was only in the sport for 2 seasons.
And
Are you Williams?
and from a country that wasn't associated with Formula One up to that point.
Engel was Polish, was he?
Josef Engel. Was it Josef Engel?
I don't know.
Possibly.
And not around for all that long, was he?
No.
And around sometime between 1970 and 1990.
That was one
Let's go with
huge
that.
pin you just stabbed in that.
Engel.
Yeah.
Have you got a guess?
Yeah.
Engel, possibly Patrick.
Right. My best finish in Formula One was 8th.
So someone, for want of a better description, pointless.
I'm going to add what what Juan means in this question in myself. After F1, I proved that IndyCar is fucking rubbish by having a successful career, as most as most Formula One drivers.
Is that
tend-
what he's actually written?
No, I added the bit. I'm not going to say which bit I added, but there was a bit I
I
added.
can guess. I think I can guess.
Can't have been the swears.
No, no. Jackie Ickx was a Formula One driver. He was around for more than 2 seasons, and he was fairly successful.
Yeah. God. This is a tough one.
Yeah, it is.
Next clue. Anybody? Bueller.
Continuing to prove how shit IndyCar is, on my Indy 500 debut, I finished second and had 4 other top 5 finishes over my career.
No, I'm none the wiser at
Yeah,
all
we-
whatsoever.
Our knowledge about IndyCar is
Over the
Limited.
last 2 to 3 years.
yeah.
Indianapolis with Alonso in it.
Before that, I'm just going to say AJ Foyt for
Oh,
everything.
that was news we missed as well. While we mentioned Indy, McLaren said they're not going to have an Indy thing, didn't they?
I think we mentioned
that a couple
of weeks ago, didn't we?
Yeah.
I thought it was confirmed. this
It
weekend.
is confirmed McLaren
Yeah.
are officially not entering IndyCar in 2019. Yeah, I'm not going to say AJ Foyt because I know that's my standard IndyCar answer to everything, but it might be a bit late for him. I think he was a team owner by then.
And also, bear in mind, you had American Formula One drivers, an American Formula
yeah.
One world champion in 1961. So
Other countries. Canadians. No, Gilles Villeneuve, obviously.
Yeah.
Would you like your next question?
I think we would.
I'm enjoying these ones. Continuing my barrage on the credibility of IndyCar, I won twice in my first year, had 2 other podiums, 4 poles, and was a factor in the championship up until I had to miss 3 races due to injury, coma, finishing 4th.
yeah, it's IndyCar again. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'd like a guess.
So would we.
How many Belgians had we had in F1 prior to
That's why I went-
1982?
That's why I went with Jackie Ickx. He was Belgian, wasn't he?
Yeah, that ruins that one then. I'm still thinking on the country. Mexican drivers.
I was going to say, what about South Americans? Apologies. We are now aware that Mexico is in North America.
hang on a second. Hang on a second. Juan Gomez has sent this in, correct?
Yes.
Is it one of the Rodriguez brothers, as in the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez?
Oh. You might be onto something there.
I'm not going to lie. I don't know. I can't see it.
Well, you'd guess it'd be the one that the circuit's named after, Germano.
Oh no! Now look, I don't speak a lot of Spanish, but I know that that's not right, Dan. Herman Rodriguez.
I'm not going to lie. I don't know what you're laughing at because I was reading the next question. I'm sorry.
Okay, what's the next question? Oh, do we need to guess?
Yeah, I need a guess.
I can't remember any of
We
them.
haven't banked one for a while.
No, we don't do the banks anymore.
Yeah.
It was a rubbish rule.
What was the Rodriguez brothers' name? Can you remember?
I can't.
No, me neither. One of them died in a crash. I don't remember about the other one.
We'll just go for as yet undetermined Rodriguez, whose first name we can't remember and not the one that died.
Well, it
So-
might be the one that died.
Do you want the Rodriguez that the circus named after, or other unspecified Rodriguez? Which one do you want?
Well, this is the thing. The circus named after both Rodriguez brothers.
Do you not know the first name of the one which the circus done? For?
But no, the circuit is named after both Rodriguez
Oh,
brothers.
right, okay.
It's the
So yes,
autodromer of the Rodriguez brothers.
so yes, we want the one
The
that the
one it's named
circuit's named
after.
after.
Right, look, I can't see the answer here, and
Because
to speed this shit up, I'm going to allow the Rodriguez brothers as a single guess.
Okay, yeah, Hermanos Rodriguez.
Yeah, just to rub salt into the wounds and to continue showing up how rubbish IndyCar is, I've qualified for 50 for the Indy 500 for 15 consecutive attempts, showing how easy it is.
50.
15.
Oh.
I'm going to say 50 Indy 500 qualifications. That's
Setting records.
Yeah.
So 15 would have taken him from when he got there in 84
To 99.
to 99.
that's one long career. Yeah. Next clue.
Unless it was maybe he didn't actually have the career. Said he went into a coma. Maybe it was like a life on Mars situation.
Hang on, it is the Brazilian circuit is named after Jose Carlos Pache, isn't it? Did he go to IndyCar?
Sorry, my memory on that is patchy.
I don't think he did, and he certainly wouldn't have been in 1999.
No, good point. Yeah, because that's what it was already called. The
Yeah.
Autodromo, yeah. It was early 70s, I think, actually.
Yeah.
This is question 9. I must remind you,
Right.
because you seem to be a little bit.
Yeah, well, it's all IndyCar, isn't it? We're not IndyCar aficionados by any stretch of the imagination.
The first time I failed to qualify, my fellow countryman won the race. That's a bit of an open-ended clue, that, because I've no idea whether that's IndyCar, Formula One, fucking tiddlywinks.
According to you, IndyCar's that easy to qualify and win in. It must be Formula
It
One
must
because
be,
back
to be.
back in those days, you couldn't be guaranteed a place on the grid if you turned up to the race.
Well, let's face it, Max Chilton's having a reasonably successful career in Formula One. Point proven.
Max Chilton's had a
Sorry,
successful
no,
career in Formula One.
IndyCar. God.
It does get hard to tell the difference
Yeah,
sometimes.
that was another life on Mars situation. Your 10th question. I've inspired and helped fellow countrymen to pursue careers in motorsport.
Somebody with a driver academy?
I don't know, I just shrugged, which is really good podcast material.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have a Spaffer clue.
And I think we'll need it.
I can be kind here, or really, really, really kind. I think I'll just be kind. To the day, only one person from my country has started an F1 race and he was quite and had a quite successful career. You guys quite like him a bit. He's put who it is as the Spaffer clue there, but I'm not telling you because it makes it just a clue if I don't tell you.
Well, yeah, if he tells who it is, it's an answer.
No, like who I'm talking about. because that would then give you
right, I get
nationality.
it. So only one other person from that country had a successful career, and we like this person.
Yeah.
Who was the one that won the race when he first failed to qualify?
I was going to say,
Must have been if that was a Formula One race.
Yeah.
read out that spaffer again. Sorry, Lee. Just I want to make sure the wording is correct in my head.
I'll read it how it's written. To date, only one other person from my country has started on an F1 race. I had and had quite a successful career. You guys quite like him.
Drivers that we've been nice about.
I can give you a second spaffer. For a period,
Pastor Maldonado.
Dutch drivers.
I can give you one more spaffer, which
Oh, no.
will
Please.
probably
Yes.
at least give you a country.
Been plenty Dutch drivers.
During a time in Lee's mid-20s, he was a fan. I don't know why I'm looking at the laptop here because I'm reading this off the top of my head. I think during Lee's mid-20s, he was quite the fan of this country's main export.
You used to drink a lot of Colombian coffee, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
So we are looking for who was the first Colombian driver?
I don't know. Juan Pablo Montoya, of course, is the driver he's referring to. Is the fact that we like him quite a lot.
Yeah. So it'll be the first time that he didn't qualify for an Indy race. Montoya won, which would have been in the 99 season when Montoya was...
Well, Montoya went back to IndyCar, didn't he, after Formula One for a bit?
Yeah, but don't forget this guy's career, we think, finished in 1999, which was also Montoya's first season in IndyCar, and he also, I think he won the title that year because he started at Williams in 2000. So he was test driver at Williams for a year in 98, then went to IndyCar, then came back
Carlos
to...
Reutemann's Argentinian, isn't he?
Yeah. So, a Colombian driver that was pointless in F1, did quite well in IndyCar, and then sort of passed the torch on to Montoya. I got nothing.
Me neither.
I'm sorry.
Are you tapping out? This is the first time. Because you're wrong on both your other guesses, obviously.
Yeah.
Are you giving up? Because this is the first time that you've had it wrong before. You've never been fucking...
No, I've
Beaten.
quite often I just go, I'm out, and then
The
don't
only-
take part in the other
The
questions.
only Colombians I know are either footballers, drug dealers, or Shakira.
Is Shakira Colombian?
I think
Yeah,
she
yeah.
is, yeah.
Yeah.
I just took it for granted she was Mexican or
No,
Spanish.
she's Colombian, I believe.
So that's how, like, she put all that weight on. That's how she lost it all then.
Drinking lots of coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
you're gonna have to put us out of our misery. I think. Are we all tapping out?
Think so.
Yeah.
I am a Formula One driver I have never heard of, and I might not even be pronouncing the second name right. I am Roberto Guerrero.
Oh,
Okay.
bugger! I have heard of him. Yes,
Thanks, Juan. You've
That
fucking-
was
very tough, but very good.
Defeated the team. Well done.
He won this one.
moving swiftly. Juan. On.
What would Juan think about?
So if somebody wants to send one in,
You can send it to me at a total shunt in a private message on Twitter.
so do that and put a date on when you send it so that Lee can actually file it. And
No, I can see the dates anyway. I just pick them at random.
Oh,
to be
right,
perfectly
oh,
honest. Yeah.
Fair enough. Oh, God, choking it. Right, Formula Lee. It was a fun one this week. Well, this last fortnight.
I'm useless at this game on Formula E.
Oh, no.
Useless.
I've noticed. I've noticed a bug on the PS4 version.
Yeah, that was what was causing me not to be very fast as well.
Where actually, yeah, because it might just be I've got a dodgy install of it and I need to reinstall it because I can't change my setup on the car. If I'm loading one, it just defaults back to whatever setup I set my fastest time with, which is very strange. I can't look at anybody else's setups, and if I shut it down, play something else, and then go back in, my fastest time still shows up on the leaderboard, but when I start a lap, the fastest time's blank. And I'm going against a delta of whatever the fastest time I've done in that session.
Oh, message Paul if you're on PlayStation and you're having the same issue, maybe there's a workaround or something like that.
If anybody knows how to get around this.
With the setups, I know that if you choose a setup, you then have to come out of the setup and go back into it to look at the set. If you take someone else's setup, you're going to come out of the TV screen and back into it to look at it.
I've tried that, and it doesn't even sorry, it works if you copy a setup from the main leaderboard, but not from the friends leaderboard, but only sometimes.
Yeah.
I put a bug report in on Codemasters forum, but I'll see if anybody from Codemasters actually gets onto that. If there is anyone from Codemasters listening, help.
Give us a shout.
But going solidly forwards, it was.
What time do we need for top 20?
Well, it was Austin and a Haas in the wet, and to get into the top 20, you needed a 150.161, which none of us did.
No, I don't think I even did a lap this week. I think my times are still the same as it was last week.
In 46th place overall, Lee with your 152.367.
Miles away.
Just ahead of him is Dan in 45th.
Yes.
With 152.269. Chris, you were 40th, 152.052. And I was 34th with 151.531. But top 20, those that got 150.161 or above. 20th was Michael J. Kellogg, or Kello, I'm not sure how you pronounce it. 20th, real racing driver James Holman.
Actual racing driver James Holman.
Actual racing driver. 18th, Bjorn Vistron. 17th, don't have your real name, but your gamer tag on Xbox is The Good Boy. Paul Large Simon in 16th. I got his position right this week after nearly making him first by 2 seconds the other week. 15th was Nick Richardson. 14th, Jacob Wilcott. 13th, Vitcher Camping. 12th, Alberto Roldan. 11th, Alessandro Popolani. Top 10, again, only got the gamer tag, but Jet Run 76, you were in 10th. Ayrton Antonucci in 9th. Matthew Morrison in 8th. Pete Bull 7th. Bradley Chambers 6th.
Good effort, Bradley.
Bit of a drop.
But yeah, a bit of a drop.
In 5th place, I think we've now christened him the Alonso of the podcast, Jeff Sharp. 2 consecutive championships and then mid-grid obscurity.
No, not really mid-grid. He's hanging around. He's hanging around.
Yeah, but it winds him up. 14th place, regular winner Will Coates.
4th place was that.
4th place, sorry, not 14th, thank you. It's been a long day. 3rd place with 148.234 was Chris Olby. 2nd place, 148.064 Max Williams. And winning this week with 148.030 Ollie Vestley.
Ollie, that's our favourite Norwegian.
Work.
Nice one, Ollie. So we move on to Mexico, and this is only going to be a 1-week challenge. So you'll need to get your times in quick.
Absolutely.
And what's it going to be?
It's going to be in the dry. It's going to be in Mexico, obviously, and it's going to be at Force India.
I guess it has to be, really.
Yeah.
So Mexico, in the dry, in a Force India. You've got till 7 o'clock UK time. Not sure what it is US time because clocks are going forward at different points. I think it might actually be 3 p.m.
It's a shame Felipe
Eastern time that
Massa.
week.
It's a shame Felipe Massa still isn't on the grid because obviously I'd have gone with his car, with it being Mexico, if he was on the grid.
Oh, because of the South American connection, because that's where Mexico is. Hang on. Well, yeah, you go. It's Mexico, so you're going with the Canadian car.
Spanish Canadians.
Yeah, Mexico, aka South Canada.
Welcome to welcome to Three Legs for Geography.
Get the times in. You can send them in by email, 3legs4wheels@gmail.com. You can send them in a Twitter direct message to @3legs4wheels, or you can send them in a Facebook message. Just go to facebook.com/3legs4wheels. Send your times in there. Or if you're on PlayStation, send me a friend request if you haven't already to Pabstar, and I'll be able to get your times off the Friends leaderboard. Or if you're on Xbox,
Send one to me, LeadRunner100.
and if anyone whose names I haven't got and I've only got the gamer tags, drop me a tweet or a message or something. Just let me know what your real name is. All right, we will be back next week, I'm hoping.
Yeah,
We'll be looking back on the Mexican Grand Prix. Will we have a World Championship to talk about?
probably.
I'd have thought so.
I think it's going to
Gonna be
happen
done.
again. Obviously, one other thing that we'll have to talk about next week is on our other show, which is for our wonderful patrons on Patreon. Extra show that you can get every week from as little as pledging $1 a month.
It does help.
It does help. It all goes towards the podcast. And you can get that by going to patreon.com/3legs4wheels. If you want to tweet us individually as well, you can get us at
Dan Dankleton.
At Flood21.
Total Shunt.
and at Pablo100. That's about it. We'll see you next week.
Paul,
Yes.
how many countries are in North America?
52 states, I believe.
And then Canada.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Bermuda's classed as North America as well, isn't
Oh,
it?
might be actually. Yeah, it's a good point.
So we're on to at least 4.
I think we better go.
How many countries are in North America?
I'll show you later. Bye.
See you later. See you
Bye.
next week.
Australia?
Antarctica?